Hello, people. We're once again doing a BoP Spaces. We're not going to be doing any. If you hear for a Man City review, that's not this. This is too pressing and too big an issue for people to have a match review. We've had 3 games, 0 points. It's not a question of where we're at right now. It's a question of where do we go from here. The game review will be doing a game review again with the Ramsdale review as well. We're going to be doing that. That was content to look forward to. But today, there's one topic and one topic only, and that is Mikel Arteta. And we're going to discuss what he's done so far, what we think he might do in the future. Is he the future of the club? Is he going to get a last pass tonight? But we're going to have lots of people on. We're going to have people that you know, people that maybe you don't know so well. But one person that is synonymous with this channel is my mate Z. So how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like after today's game, there's a lot of questions to be asked, but I don't think, we should talk about the game. Let's leave the game aside. I think we should focus on the man himself, Arteta, and see,
Yeah.
really, just trying to justify whether he should stay or not, and what's next. Really, I mean, hopefully we get more people on, and we can have different kind of discussions, different ideas as well, and yeah, hopefully let's see where it takes us. Though.
In about 10-15 minutes, I'll put the StreamYard in the comments. But for now, I just want to talk to have a bit of a conversation with my mate with the Mando in attendance. So let's get going. So, like 0 points, 3 games. I mean, I remember we talked on a podcast, and you were asking me what would I be happy with and what would I accept, and it was a bit of a heated argument with me, you, Wave, and CK. And I said to you, if it was less than 3 points, I wouldn't be happy, but I would want 5 to 6 points, but less than 3 points, and it was disaster. And it has been a disaster. I'm not going to lie to you, but what I want to say to you is there's only out of the 3 games, one of them I put on Mikel. The other 2 I can say hand on heart. Yeah, you made mistakes, or he's not been. Maybe not at the races, but there's been so many different circumstances that have gone out of the club. And in terms of injuries, COVID, like we're going to get into it, and I'm going to make lots of different arguments, but I want to know where you stand. How many points do you think we should have gotten, and where do you think 0 points takes us now?
It's a good one, man. To be fair, look, I remember speaking to you guys, speaking to Wave, and I had a very clear kind of idea because I think I'm a very positive fan, and I kind of said that I would be livid if we don't get at least 4 points, 4 to 5 points against in the last 3 games that we've had, and the fact that we've come up with 0, it's a massive red flag for me, and. Obviously, it's not nice to see us, losing 3 games. But I think one thing we could have been very much appreciative of is the fact that yes, obviously we've had this COVID issue, we've had players, being injured, and all of these things that have come up. But it's the manner in the defeats. It's kind of it seems to me like it's been brewing over time, and I know that it's probably stupid of me to mention preseason, but it feels like since preseason it's been happening over time where players are not listening to the manager or they're not doing a certain instruction from the manager, and we're seeing a negative spiral from there. And now we've come to a point where we're at the business part of the season, and the players are not performing or they're not listening to simple instructions, and now that we're free. Now we're three defeats in. We could have said, look, against Brentford, yes, we lost our spine. Against Chelsea, we lost our spine. But I feel like there could have been a lot more coaching done.
In all 3 games, we didn't have our spine, let's be real. In all 3 games.
No, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree with you on that, totally. But the fact was, I'm sure there was a lot more that could have been done by the manager to mask the deficiencies in the squad, especially against Chelsea and Manchester City, as we saw today. But I think again, that's down to the manager. That's down to what the decisions he kind of makes, and ultimately, it's him and his decisions that will cost him his job. And we can
100%.
sit here all day and come up with this hypothesis and say he doesn't have his spine. Man, if you
It's not a
wanted something,
hypothesis, though. It's facts. How is it a
yeah,
hypothesis?
it's a fact. You're right. But look, I think we would be here all day if we discuss the thing. I think we need to realize we saw red flags. We saw red flags since the Villarreal
Yeah,
game.
of course. Villarreal game was a big, massive red flag. The false nine was a silly decision for sure. I mean, it was. No, it's not about Gabriel or it's not about White. It's a combination of players. So I'll give you a perfect example. So Liverpool last season lost both their starting centre backs and their backup centre backs and went on a 5-game losing streak. No one said a word. They all said, "Oh, Liverpool, poor Liverpool, they've lost all their centre backs. They've lost world-class talent." Yet we have the same issue and everyone's in meltdown against top quality opposition. The only one you can say that wasn't top quality was Brentford. And the Brentford game, it's a case of you had a COVID outbreak maybe 2 hours before the game, and you lose both your striking options, and you lose your who else did he lose? He lost other players as well. Sorry, it was Lacazette, Aubameyang, and then there was 2 others. Who was it?
I can't remember. Party as well, and yeah,
No,
I mean, he
Partey
lost
was injured. Yeah, he lost 2-0. But
Williams.
yeah, so
Yeah,
other people that didn't matter, but the players that he would have played, he lost to COVID. And the thing is, it's not just about the effect of COVID on the thing; it's the panic that it ensues because everyone's getting retested. You have to rejig your whole lineup. It's not about making excuses. It's about realizing the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is on the ground. You're not saying if you say to any team that you lose your talisman for the not last season, but the last 2 seasons, your club captain, you lose your second striker, and you're playing your unproven youth striker at centre forward and Martinelli at left wing. So it's people can say that it's so. If you're saying that it's about looking at the spine of the team, in all 3 games, it's not even one person missing. It's not 2 people missing. It's 3 people missing consistently every game. 3 spinal players have been missing. And I will say, but on the other hand, you can also say he's made silly mistakes with selecting Leno consistently. I don't know why he's starting Leno. It's because Ramsdale is new, I guess, and Leno is the number 1 so far. But you can see the glaring errors that he brings. That back 3 today, why he decided to start Kolasinac over Mari. I get Kolasinac had an okay game at West Brom, but if you're going to start Kolasinac at left centre back when you have Mari on the bench, or you have Tavares who can play at left wing back efficiently, and you have Tierney as a left centre back who proved himself he can do that at the Euros. I'm not saying that, and it's not delusional to say that. Yeah, he made mistakes, but there are also extenuating circumstances. You have to look at both sides of the argument. You can't just be like, you can't just look and be like, okay, it's none of his fault, but you also can't say that it's all his fault because there's both sides to the argument, and you have to analyze and look, there are reasons that he lost that are due to his mistakes, and there's reasons that we lost that are out of his hands. And that's where I'm struggling here because people are saying it's all his fault or it's not his fault. There's no nuance. And his time may be up, Mikel. It may be up. That's fine. I don't mind that his time is up because at this moment in time, I don't see something that I can put my hat on and say, okay, this is how we move forward from here. What I will say, though, is that I want to see when we have only 1 players. This is the best comment. It's the whole club's fault, but he has been backed. He has been backed because he's got his £50 million centre back. He's got backups in other positions. He's had discussions where He's had players that he wants, and he's had time. So he has been backed, but it's every one of the club's fault. 8 of the starting 11 today were here in Wenger's time, and we've been having a downturn since all these players have been at the club. To put this all on Mikel is silly, but to put not on Mikel is also silly. It's somewhere in the middle, and the question is how far is it towards Mikel, and how far is it towards other people? That's where you decide where whether he should come or go or not. Z, you can talk for a bit. I want a bit gone a bit of a rant there.
No, I mean, look, you're right. I mean, there has been plenty of extenuating circumstances as well, and I think we kind of have to give Arteta the benefit of the doubt here. Okay, we can give him the benefit of the doubt here, but it doesn't change away. It doesn't move away from the fact that there has been some coaching errors, there has been some tactical errors, and there has been management errors as well from him. And I think it's all come together now. I think it's all come together, and it kind of seems like it's part of that negative spiral that's now come to an end. And I feel like now we're at a point where we have to draw a line. We have to draw a line under this and say personally that, you know what, Arteta, you've done your bit. You've tried to change the culture in the club. You've been ruthless. You've got out like some mercenaries like Mr. Ozil, and you got out people like Linduzi, and you tried to instill a culture at the club that wasn't there before. That's very good for you. That's very look in future when you learn from your mistakes. At a different club you can do the same. But the fact of the matter is, we need results now, and we also need results in the medium term, and we need results for the future. We can't just constantly look at the manager and say, you know what, in the future we're going to be better, because what happens is you're literally attacking your short term, and what happens is you might even end up even like diminishing your possibilities of even getting Europe. You might diminish your chances of, bringing fans back into the stadium on a permanent basis because, half of the fan base, or the entirety of the fan base is now is Arteta out. And what's happened is now you might have the players turn on you, and you need to have a combination of everything. You need to protect your short term, your medium, your long term, and you need to have a good harmony within the team. You need to have a good harmony and good relationship with the manager and a good relationship with the fans. And so far, I feel like we're failing on all counts bar one, which is us trying to protect our long term. And I think this is where we've gone wrong, and it's probably down to the owners as well. They've given jobs to two different rookies, to Edu and Arteta, and they've sacked Raul. They sacked in Raul and Mislintat, and now we can go in all day and say something like Raul was a crook, but the fact of the matter is,
he was a crook, but he is a master of the black arts.
He was someone that knew what to do. He knew what to do. For example, I think Emery sat down with Raul and said, "Look, I want a left back. I want a central midfielder. I want a winger." He got him those players, right? And he had no issues, by the way, with getting players in or out. He had no issues, and he even sold someone like Iwobi for a frantic amount of money. And now I know it probably is a bit of a hindsight, but the fact of the matter is, if that was the bar, we should have brought in someone that can at least exceed that. We've brought in someone that has basically taken us 2 or 3 levels below, and we're not proactive enough in the market. We're someone that's more reactive, and in combination with how Arteta is, and Arteta wants as a team, and with someone that's very reactive, I feel like it's a very, very bad mix. And now we're seeing the results on the pitch. How much longer do you think this is sustainable for, Karen? I can't see it.
It looks like he's gone already. I think he goes tonight. He might go tonight, man.
I would not be surprised, because look, 3 weeks ago after the Brentford game, I heard it's when and not if. Now, all the Arteta fans, Arteta fans and whatever you want to classify them as.
Arsenal fans, bro.
Arsenal fans. No, but it's true because
Bro, come on
anybody
now.
that's
I'm sorry, but just
hear me out.
you can't. Can we not start?
No,
Can we not start doing
no, no,
Arteta
I
sexuals,
don't.
Arteta in, Arteta out?
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
Arsenal
Look,
fans, bro.
hear me out here,
I'm not
because
having that, man. No, no, no. Sorry, bro.
I've
I
been
can't.
branded that as I've been branded that myself. But what I'm trying to
That's
say
what I'm
is
saying.
we're all Arsenal fans. But what I'm trying to say is
Exactly.
anybody that's supporting the manager, or anybody that's against the manager, or anybody that wants the manager to stay, or they have, or they're trying to be very positive, they are ignoring the fact that this is looking like it's a sinking ship right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, if that means I'm sure, classifying them as Arteta fans right now, my bad. But the fact is, those that are trying to be positive, they're ignoring the sinking ship, and this is where it scares me. I feel like if we ignore this for too long, we're gonna be in a very, very bad way.
Bro, it doesn't matter if we ignore it. Are they ignoring it? That's the problem. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
if we ignore it.
of course, of
Wh-
course, of
Why
course.
why are we getting into a place where if you if you if you support the manager, or you support people on the pitch, suddenly you're an Arteta sexual, or you're some sort of
No, agreed,
top
agreed.
gooner. But no, but the point is that your opinion is your opinion. At the end of the day, you can have
Opinion is
your
your opinion.
opinion, and if you want to talk on the facts and you want to talk about your opinion, that's fine. But to say that if you support Arteta, you're only doing it because you're sexually attracted to him, or if you don't support Arteta,
No,
if you don't support Arteta, then obviously you're not a fan of the club. No, everyone. If you support the club, you support the club. If you have, if you
support the
wear,
club.
if you wear the cannon, you're a gunner. That's all it is at the end of the day. So if you want, if that's the only thing you need. So it's not about whether you support the manager or not. I don't care about fans' opinions about what they say about it. Everyone's valid cares. They can do what they want about their opinion. But at the end of the day, are the people in charge of the club looking at this and seeing we need to change or not? That's the question. Not about us arguing between ourselves, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if sexy Saliba 123 wants to say to me that he's the greatest centre back in the world and Arteta's tried to kill him because he supports the Taliban. I don't care what he wants to say to me. The question is are the people in charge of the club right now, are they looking at this and seeing that what is happening with the club at the moment? Because it's not okay. And P17, I do think he gets sacked tonight. I think he gets sacked tonight. And and you know what? I'm going to say this now. I'm going to take so much shit on Twitter for this. I don't really give a shit. I saw what I saw, and I said to myself, I will give the manager until December. That was always my case. But if he gets sacked, he gets sacked. I can't. It's out of my control. What can I do about it? It's not. But am I happy
Bro,
about it?
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Karen. If we had this conversation, by the way, tomorrow, and we slept on it, by the way, we would come back and say, you know what? Let's give the manager until December. I tell you
I
what,
still
because you
think
know
we
what?
honestly, I still think we
Yeah,
should.
no,
I
you're
don't
right,
think we should
because
sack him tonight. I don't think we should sack him tonight at all.
no,
It makes no
that's
sense.
again, that you're in hindsight, you're probably right. Maybe we shouldn't be taking such rational decisions, but I feel like sometimes you shouldn't overthink these things. This is, I feel like we're overthinking sometimes. You need to make decisions, like
Look. See,
straight away, man.
let me ask you one thing, right? What manager in world football takes this club to where we said Arteta needs to be top four with a decent cup run?
Listen, I don't think any manager comes in right now and he changes the fortunes of the club to make us where we want to be within this season. But I do think we can give it a better shot. I honestly do think that.
Who?
I feel like,
Who?
I, well, to be fair, I mean, even if we bring
Give me
someone in
names,
like
man. That's what I'm asking. Give me a name.
I feel like with
Enrique. Okay.
Enrique, we will see probably a lot more attacking football. We'll
Yep.
probably entertain the fans a lot more. We will see a lot more goals. Probably leak a few, but you know what? We will get results with him. I mean, he's proven all around Europe. Someone like Potter as well. I know he's inexperienced, but
Mhm.
he's come in. He's come in the Premier League with Brighton, and you can see his philosophy. And it's not, and he does not complain about the system or the profile of players he has. He works with what he
Do you not
has,
think
and
that he's under a very, very less pressure situation as well, though? Let's be
he's
real.
under. Look again. We're not.
And this is fault, Nikhil. This is just untrue. He had a
Hear me.
baptism of he had a baptism of fire, and then he lost his first couple of games, and then he went on a 22-game unbeaten streak start. It's not, we're not just, let's stick to the facts, man. Like, why are we just making things? Ten Hag as the name I hear. I agree. I would like Enrique. I like it. I think, but I don't. Does Conte get you top four? Maybe, but does he? But does he fit the mold of what the club want at the moment? We're looking at a long-term sort of project deal, because we've reshaped the club from the under eights to the scholars and we're trying to bring that up into the first team. We're looking at a long-term rebuild. I don't think this is a case of we're just looking for a pump and dump, if you want. We're not looking for a Conte guy. We're looking for a player that could. I mean, Ten Hag is someone that you can say who's understood the Ajax model. I could agree with. I like Luis Enrique as well. I think he creates great attacking football. 4-3.
But you know what it is, right? I feel like look, for sometimes the best thing in football is to string on hope, and I feel like sometimes when you watch Arteta's team, we don't really see the best of football sometimes. And I know sometimes when it clicks, but majority of the time it's hard to see a good footballing pattern. And we could obviously bow down to the players and say, you know what, you guys are not good enough, and you guys can't produce a good performance on the pitch. But I feel like we can. I feel like we can with these players, and we have done in the past. It is a matter of Arteta doesn't give his players enough freedom on the pitch. You can see it. You can clearly see.
I agree with that. I can agree with that. But the point of the matter is,
he
do you not think
micromanages each position.
the rigidity is also due to the personnel on the pitch as well? He has to make sure that these look at that back three, man.
It can be, but look, after it can be. You're right, but after a certain period of time, I think players get tired of listening.
But 3 games.
I don't think it's a matter of 3 games. They had to listen to him the entirety of last season, especially with no fans. I think it comes to a point where the players sometimes feel undermined. They feel like, okay, this manager doesn't trust me as much. And again, we've seen the reports. We've seen the reports come out, and where they've said Arteta treats some players in a different way compared to others, and that could be either due to the fact that he likes them more, or he just doesn't believe in them, or he just doesn't rate them at all. And this is where I feel like everything.
But do you not need players that buy into the philosophy of the club? Do you not? Is that not a thing that we are trying to promote as a team?
Well, you're right. We need to bring in players that buy in the philosophy of the club. But when you are reaching for short-term results as well, you need to try and adjust your ways to ensure you're protecting your short-term, and so that you can actually reach your long-term goals, even if it means it takes you a longer time to reach your long-term plan. By the way, I feel like you need to ensure that happens. When someone like Klopp came in, by the way, he never, his team was not exactly how it was today. His team was probably a higher pressing team, played much better football back then than the way he is now. You know why? Because he adjusted to the team and the players he had, and over time, he fixed his team. But I think Liverpool is probably the best club to look at. Example, we can't look at Chelsea, we can't look at City, and we can't look at United, because those clubs, they get ginormous amount of investment each year that basically change the whole, that basically changes their whole team all the time. But we need to look at Liverpool and the way they did it, and what they did was, they tweaked their team little by little. With Coutinho leaving, with Suarez leaving, and all these players, they tweaked their team little by little, and they basically added in some few players that changed the spine of the team, and they improved. They improved year by year. They went from going from 4th place to come in second, to come in first. They're Champions League winners as well. So we saw the gradual process, bro. We saw the gradual progress with the team. And I feel like we should be doing the same thing, right? We need to protect our short term first because that is what is going to make us believe in the long term. I hope that makes sense to
What
you,
do
bro.
you need to do? No, but I understand what you're saying because I agree. We do need to protect our short term. We're looking at a very, very grim situation right now. But what do you need to do right now to protect a short term
Man,
situation? Sack
I think we
him,
need
bring
results.
someone else in.
We need
But
results,
how
man.
do you
I think
produce?
we
But
need
bro, you have
results.
to produce your results. How do you produce those
Yeah,
results? Do you
yeah.
sack him now?
In order to produce results, we need a manager who is experienced in this kind of situation where he is able to shift what we have now, and hopefully over time we bring in better players. And once we have those better players, maybe then you can bring in a project manager like Arteta. I'm not saying we bring Arteta back, but I'm saying you can bring in a project manager like Arteta and Nagelsmann. Because for now, we need someone that is experienced enough to take us through that ride, man. We need someone experienced enough to take us through all the growing pains. And I don't think we have much leverage with
Hmm.
Arteta and an experienced director of football and a young team. It's a
Uh,
recipe for disaster, man.
personally,
Honestly.
personally, like this is my personal opinion. If we're talking about short term protection, I think we need someone to shepherd Arteta through this. I don't think
Correct.
it's him. I don't think. I mean, he is part of it. As I said before, it's not an everything's Arteta's fault or nothing's Arteta's fault. It's obviously partly and maybe majority of Arteta's fault, and there's partly or maybe majority of it's the board and Edu's fault. But right now, if you look at the things that have happened this window, Edu has messed up. He's messed up hard. He hasn't been able to sell players. Same with Garlic and Lewis. They've missed out on opportunities or something has happened. There's not been enough movement in terms of getting Deadwood out. Otherwise, half this
Yeah.
11 wouldn't be playing today.
It's true, but
So,
he
I
Arteta.
would say, yeah, I would
No, I'm
say
saying Arteta has
personally,
some loyalties with some players, bro. Arteta
yes,
has
of
some
course.
loyalties with some players, and it kind of shows on the pitch. When you're telling players like Bellerin you have to stay, that is not you being proactive. You're not
Are you
addressing.
sure about that?
Yeah,
Is that actually? Yeah,
I'm
are you
one
100% sure on
thousand
that? Yeah.
percent, 1,000% sure from
Okay.
the
Then that's
horse's mouth.
unacceptable.
It is unacceptable, and the fact that this has happened, it's for me that's a no-no because you are going against the best interests of your team. We need a right back. How can you tell the only right back that we need to sell, like, we want you to stay, and we're going to give you a contract when this right back doesn't even want to stay?
Has he been offered a contract now?
He has been offered a contract for time, man. He's been offered a contract for time, and he had to go to the Athletic via his agent to come out and say, "Look, I want to leave. The club is not letting me leave. They've been rejecting offers from me left, right, center. Inter Milan came close to signing me on loan, but they don't. But Arsenal didn't accept it, and now Arsenal want to keep me. That's what he has gone out and done. And when it comes out from clubs like when it comes out from outlets such as Athletic, that's when you know there is a huge problem because that is right from the agent's mouth, mate. This is where
That's
I
fair.
feel
That's
like
fair enough.
it's crazy.
We've got CK as well now. And what do you want to say to that, CK?
If I'm being honest, I haven't heard a word you guys have said. I came in blind. I'm seeing the comments and I've heard the Athletic a bit, but I haven't heard much of what you said. What have you guys
We
said?
were talked about whether it should be. I mean, the point I was about to make was I think this window has shown that Edu needs to go. I think we need someone more experienced that can help guide Arteta through these difficult times because at the moment he's just sort of there. I don't see Edu being that sort of director of football. He's just sort of trying to get players out, trying to get players in. He's not really doing much. He's just sort of there. And I would sack Edu before Arteta personally. What do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even today, I wouldn't sack Arteta today, and I've said that to be honest. I would sack Edu because I think he's had this window, the last window, or the last like January window, and the summer window was, I won't even blame him for that because that was Raul. But I think he struggled to sell players. to be honest, and he's always struggled with that. He has contacts. Okay, he has contacts. I'll give him that, but I think I just have a weird thing with Edu. He's a bit like he hasn't been able to really get players out or really get players in fast. To be honest,
I just need someone with some experience there, man. I need someone that is not that will just say to Mikel, look, how to like we need three things. I think we need one, a mediator between the players on the outside and Mikel. So, for example, the Kolasinacs maybe, or the Salibas who are not here, players that are on the sort of outskirts of the squad. We need someone to reconcile the wounds in this squad from the outside to in. So that's the first thing. We need someone with experience to help Mikel guide through these difficult moments. And the second thing, the third thing, we need an experienced transfer head that will be able to guide us through and get contacts. I still believe in Lewis and Garlic. I think they've done when they've had the ability to get players out, they've done well. So if you look at, for example, the Willock deal, Garlic's put in a nice little tasty sell-on clause with that. Or you look at the Mavropanos deal, even though it's only 7 million, they'll get much more for him, and we have a nice tasty sell-on clause there. So when you have contract workers like Garlic and Lewis, I'm not too worried about them. But Edu is what's pissing me off, because I don't think he does any of those three things. I don't think he helps the player relationships. I don't think he helps Mikel in terms of guiding him through moments. And I don't think he's someone that is able to manage transfers appropriately.
I don't think he has to, though. That's the thing. I mean, when we're talking about on the pitch as well, Edu can only get the players out. That's a fact. He hasn't got the players out. Yeah, that's him losing his job. You haven't met your requirements. That's your KPIs. All destroyed. That's your job done there. But what Arteta has done is basically pick the players that is meant to be leaving the club, and this is where you end up thinking about the manager, and you're like, does he actually have the best interest of the club at heart? Because I can't see it. I can't see it. You can't keep on players like Kolasinac and Xhaka at the club, as well as Leno, who have all asked to leave, and think they will perform to the best of ability and get us results and make us come to a place where we can start challenging for Europe. Because you know what, it is actually one of the most farcical decisions that he's probably made since being at the club, playing players that do not want to be at the club, and I can't protect that. You know what, it makes me upset more than anything when we have players dying to even have a chance. So you had someone like Ainsley saying that like you had someone like Ainsley saying that he went from being on top of everything, from having interest from Manchester United and all these clubs, from out of nowhere just being shunned out. And then you have players like Kolasinac who went behind Arteta's back and leaked out so much news, and he gets to start in a game like this. For me, man, I think it's unacceptable. And I don't know, man. You're right. If he gets sacked today, I won't say a thing. I feel like it's coming. It's coming now, man.
But do you not think that?
He lagged again.
By the role in player liaison as well.
You lagged
I said,
a lot.
do you not think Edu has a? Oh, sorry. I said, do you not think Edu has a role in player liaison as well as transfers? Can you hear me, or?
I can hear you. I can't hear Z anymore.
Can't hear Z anymore. But what do you think? Do you think he has a role in player liaison, or is it just strictly transfers?
He does have a role for player liaisons, because with Balogun was talking about how Eddie was instrumental in like convincing him to stay. So he does talk to the players.
Mm.
He does have a relationship with players, because if he's involved in convincing players consistently to stay or to go, then he definitely is a liaison of some sort. I think with this Arteta thing is like, for me, yeah, it's 3 games and it's poor. I think this was actually considered, even the scoreline was probably the one he's least to blame for. out of all three. I think Brentford, it's probably the worst system I've ever seen him put out. Chelsea maybe could have set us up better for like a tighter finish or more of a chance to win. And today, what did you think about the setup today?
There were a couple of things I thought were weird. I think if he had done Tierney and Tavares, would have been a massive help.
David Olatunji said, Arteta's so arrogant, he should have started Ram. That is so stupid. And yeah, I don't want to be rude to you, but I think that's so stupid. Because he protected Ramsdale. Because if Ramsdale doesn't go for that 5-0, what are you going to say? Most fans are going to start attacking him. So it's not arrogance to not start someone that you wanted to buy. It's just not arrogance. But yeah,
I mean, it's the goalkeeper position as well, and we will be covering the game. Don't worry, but we want to make sure that I want to rewatch the game personally, and I think CK and George do as well. So I think it's a case of we have to look at things in a realistic situation. I want to make sure that I'm not talking out of passion, on ball over passion, for this game. I want to make sure I understand what actually happened this game, because it's a show. It doesn't feel like a normal result. I feel like what I was saying to CK as well is when you lose 3 out of your 5 spine members, you know what I mean? Like 3 out of the 5 of your spine are gone. Both centre backs and your main centre midfielder.
So
are out.
I'm looking.
So you're looking at 3 of the main players in your squad and your 11 in the same proximity. It's not like we're having like with Spurs where they had Romero and then Kane as well out. It's White, Gabriel, and Partey. So, and no one's mentioning Saliba. Okay, do you want to talk about Saliba? Saliba wanted to leave. He didn't want to stay in England. He wanted to go on loan. He didn't want to start. He wanted to start every game, and he wasn't given that guarantee. It's the same as Martinez. Let's stop talking about Saliba, because Saliba wanted to leave. He wanted to leave Arsenal Football Club, and he didn't want to be here to ride for his place. Because if he didn't want to ride for his place, he'd be starting for us.
None of us
We said he'd be able to start. He'd be able to play in preseason. We said that. His agent and his people wanted assurances that he would start, and they took White as offensive. Because why are you buying another starting centre back? Because you have William Saliba, who's 20 years old. I love William Saliba. I think has a great future. But at 20 years old, you want to assume that you will start for Arsenal Football Club. It's ridiculous. So let's relax on this whole if we had Saliba. Well, he chose not to be here. We wanted him here. He didn't even want to stay in England. He didn't want to learn the Premier League. He wanted to go to Marseille, where he's now fighting with fans. Enjoy yourself for a season, and I wish you come back. You wish you come back healthy, and you wish you come out with lots of experience. But not talking about William Saliba here. I'm talking about the players wearing this shirt right now. Right?
Yeah, I seen somebody. Obviously, I came late in it, and I'm just reading back some of these comments, and I really think like stuff like Arteta is the easiest to sack. It's just dumb, because taking the easy way out is what got us here in the first place.
Exactly.
So that if there's other reasons why you can say Arteta can be sacked, I won't be shouting Arteta. Even when I do think he should be sacked,
yeah, give me a second.
I won't be here shouting Arteta out and parading Arteta out and stuff. I'll come here the same way I came, and I'll say Arteta out, and it'll be that. And at the end, it won't be my decision. It'll be based on his results and his players and the board, to be honest. And I think the easy way out is just the dumb way to go, because we went the easy way out with Emery. We went the easy way out getting Pepe instead of Zaha. When you go 9 times out of 10, when you get the easy way out, it just doesn't work. You're telling me Xhaka's better than Guendouzi and Willock. You gave Xhaka a new deal. What's wrong with him? No one said that, first of all. Second of all, I'm telling you Xhaka's better than Guendouzi. That's what I'm saying. Not that's what I think. And Willock is a different case. I was on here saying I wouldn't sell Willock, but he was sold, and it is what it is at this point. I'm not gonna cry over one of these youngsters leaving, because we have very, very good crop, and when Lucy has problems with every manager everywhere he goes. He's had 5 managers now because there's a new one there, but before this he had 4 managers and had problems with 4 managers. So he is a problematic person.
Let's address this comment, okay? So Guendouzi strangled a man on the pitch. Right? Consistently got into disciplinary issues in Dubai. Consistently showed immaturity issues at Hertha Berlin. Consistently has fallen out with every single manager he has played under. Every single one. Okay? He was bought in. He did well for a couple of games, and he is rash. I'm not saying If you look at this logically, you're really going to tell me right now that Guendouzi is better than Xhaka? CK, is Guendouzi better than Xhaka?
No, I don't think he is.
No, he is not
He's
better
playing well
than Xhaka.
today, but
He is not better than El Neni. Okay, forget Xhaka. Right, and Willock played well under. Willock played well under Bruce. Yes, he did. He went on loan to Bruce. Did he start? No. He came on as a super sub, and yet somehow he was meant to be the savior of Arsenal. And when fans saw him sold, they started crying. Cry. I don't care. Okay, I do not care at all, because Willock was a sub for us. He wasn't a starter. He never was. And we sold him for 25 million. If he flopped this season, you'd be saying the same thing you're saying for Ainsley this year. Oh, we got 20 million for him. We got 25 million bid for him. Why didn't we sell him? Now you're saying this about Ainsley. Now you're saying this about Torreira. Now you're saying this, or Torreira's gone. Now you're saying this about Kolasinac. Now you're saying about this about these players. But when they do want to be sold, and you sell them, then you cry.
But yeah, like with Arteta in particular,
everything looks better.
Nothing except
I'm saying everything looks better in hindsight, man. Everything looks better in hindsight. We could go on about all the decisions that Arteta has made.
Of it.
Corin, you're lagging again.
I understand that, but I don't want us to go off on a tangent and where we focus on individual players and use that as a reason to bash the manager.
But the point is that we're having a discussion about what the state of the club is at the moment. And Archie, mate, I don't care if you pass it, bro. It doesn't matter what.
What does that mean? Though?
Okay, so
what do you want
does that
to
even
do?
mean?
Because
do you want to come and
when he attacked Pepe for getting the red, when he slayed him in front of the media, everyone hated it. Everyone went against him. You shouldn't do that to your player. So when he embraces Xhaka, he didn't even embrace him. He didn't hug him or nothing. He tapped him on the back. People are like, that's a problem. Like I honestly don't get that part. I really don't.
Me neither.
But yeah, go on, Z.
And honestly,
Fair enough.
This squad is not set up for this year. I will tell you right now this. I will admit this right now. I don't think this squad is set up for this year. I think it'll probably be 2 managers before this. You know what? I'm not even this guy, David guy. I'm sorry, mate, but you're just delusional. You are delusional. Okay.
This Leno over Emmy thing. Even Emmy himself said Arteta gave him a 95% guarantee that he's going to be.
We're giving this guy. We're going off on a different tangent because today we're not focusing on the past decisions of the manager. Whatever he's done in the past, we have already spoken about it.
No, but it's a discussion on Mikel.
We've already criticised him for the. But I'm talking about the now. What I want to know is the future of the manager. If there is a way back, what should he do? And if there isn't a way back, what do we do as a club?
There is definitely a way back.
Everything
I think
in the
way
past
back
has been part of the past.
The international break, to be honest. Like for me, the first 2 games is what disappointed me with Arteta. More so the first game is one you shouldn't lose. The other 2 is more debatable. You shouldn't lose in the manner that we lost today. But for me,
it's the second game we shouldn't have lost in that way.
I predicted a 3-0 anyway. So, but like, it's poor to lose that way. Yeah, again, people are emotional and all this stuff. But like, for me, I think the way back is sign someone else from now and then have your players back from injury and illness. Maybe I hope those players that like with illness and injury come back before the Norwich game. Because if he loses versus Norwich, I think it's over for him, to be honest.
Yeah, look, for me, it's very simple. Sign Hosamawa, do it now. Get rid of Willian, get rid of anyone else you can.
Yeah, the
Keep
report for Willian
I don't
today
care
is
who.
that he's gonna decide tomorrow whether
I don't care what the report says. I'm not on Twitter for a reason. I don't care about the report. Get it done. I know what you're saying, but at this moment in time, get it done. Okay, get Hosamawa in. If you can get a right back in, great. If you can do that, and start going off what actually we have at the club, because at this moment in time, for me, the only result the first 3 games I blame Arteta for is the Chelsea result, because he set us up wrong. What do you think, ZK?
I blame him for I blame him for the Chelsea result and the Brentford result. The Brentford result was a shit.
But do you not think that the extenuating circumstances behind that sort of
they definitely hurt him, but the structure still was off the whole game.
You think? No,
yeah,
it's right. You're right.
I think with Chelsea could have set us up better to win, but some individuals that we had to play that just didn't help Arteta either. I think City was probably our best setup he's done so far this season, and we were good for the first 10 minutes, and then Chambers loses the ball in the air to Gundogan, and the heads dropped, and the game was done from there, to be honest. That's how I view the first 3 games, and it's a negative light on him because I feel because the media have done well to paint the narrative. Oh my God, look, they've consistently pushed the Arsenal the biggest spenders.
Yep.
But the teams around us that's been big spending on 1 player and 2 players, and I think United are about to overtake us when they get Ronaldo. But yeah.
No, they will. I still think they will. I think because we're going to redo our predictions, but I don't think that it's a case where you can say we're guaranteed to be. I mean, we'll be in the fight, but I don't think it's easy to say. I think probably top 6 is the best we can hope for now, because that Ronaldo signing is, as much as we think it upsets the balance in that club, it's still Cristiano Ronaldo.
He guarantees mad.
He's still one of the top 5 players in the world.
Guarantees mad.
Like, it is what
I don't think he's top 5 players in the world, but I think he guarantees goals. Like 25.
Who is your top 5 players in the world then?
I don't think we
Messi.
need to go into that right now.
Fine, fair enough.
We'll talk about it like next week because we have.
Yeah, man, I don't wanna move like just change the topic. Like I'm sorry, guys, but I feel like we shouldn't go off on a tangent, man. There are much more important things to discuss.
The only thing the main mistakes I would see this, the main mistake I've seen this season is the Xhaka deal. That's my main thing this season. So I just think that it's I don't like it.
Name more, man. I can name definitely more.
Name more what? Like poor decisions.
No, but this summer I'm talking about.
Like he's made a lot more. Yeah, especially this summer, I feel like he's made a lot more poor decisions, which has obviously accumulated over time, and now we're seeing basically the results of it. This is where well, obviously, if we're looking at the Xhaka deal, well, that is probably one of the worst ones. The Bellerin one is unacceptable. You know, the fact that he's decided. He has spoken to Bellerin categorically and said, "I want to offer you a contract and keep you at the club." This is against the.
Despite that, what other clubs in for Bellerin?
Doesn't matter. You
cannot go in, even if he doesn't give him the contract. If no one wants to buy him, he's not going to go regardless.
No, there has been offers. There has been offers from Inter Milan, from Villarreal, from Atletico
this season
for him. Yes, this season. They may have not been the offers that we want as a club, by the way. They may have not been the offers we want as a club, but there are sometimes you have to draw a line and say, look, you know what, we might take a hit on this, but we need to respect this player's wishes. We need to respect this player's wishes and get him out of the club. He has gone to
But
the
what you just said there, like sometimes you take the hit. You want us to take the hit on everything because you wanted us to take the hit on Xhaka.
We have to, because what happens next season? No one wants him. No one. Listen, there's one thing taking a hit, and there's also one thing is protecting the assets. We're not protecting our assets. We haven't protected our assets. If we were able to protect our assets, we wouldn't have depreciated the values of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Eddie Nketiah, and more. Right? This is where I feel like we are not looking at it from a holistic point of view, we're not actually being fair on some players like Hector Bellerin, who has asked to leave in two occasions, and we're looking out for a certain figure that feels like that makes us feel like we're in a bubble that every other club aren't. And we're not respecting the players so much to the fact that he had to go to the Athletic via his agent. And
So
say,
we are respecting the player in the sense that we're looking for him to be gone, but we want more than other teams are willing to pay. So we're respecting the player.
What happens next season?
Are just not meeting what we want.
So what happens next season? That's fair enough, by the way. Then why are we offering him a new contract? Why has Arteta gone to him?
Just because of what you said to protect the asset. That's what you said, not me. You said that.
So a player that is not going to be, a prime starter for the club is now magically, after signing a contract, his value is going to start appreciating. Is that what you're trying to say?
Not appreciating, it's staying at the same level. Why would it depreciate?
It won't stay at the same level because one, he loses a year in age. Number two, he loses interest. There's a lot less eyes on him because he won't be playing games. We're only going to play around 40 games this season. 40 games this season. There's not European games for him to play in, and we have 4 right backs at the club already. Anyways, there's not going to be many opportunities for him to play. The best decision we could have made, and Arteta could have made, was accept that early offer from Inter Milan. That would have been the best decision because we would have had a right back in by now, and we wouldn't have had to play in Cedric or Chambers. That is, for me, it's a shocking decision. Another shocking decision which I could count on, and this is when I had direct contact with Saliba's agent, is when we couldn't confirm to Saliba that he would be one of the main players at the club, and we decided to choose players like Rob Holding.
You said we wanted to a guarantee that he was starting, not that he was one of the main players.
Yeah, of course. If we're starting Kolasinac over Saliba, that to me,
we're not starting Kolasinac over Saliba.
If Saliba decided to stay,
you cannot say no. Yeah,
yes, you can.
Fair enough. You cannot. Hear me out. Hear me out. We did not guarantee him a start, but the fact of the matter was we brought in someone like Ben White, and he already knows he is under the pecking order behind Rob Holding and Mari. We should have gone in and said, you know what, Saliba, we're going to play you ahead of Rob Holding. We're going to play you of Mari.
This is not what you said before.
This
is
exactly what I said. This
is not what you said before, man. This is not what you said.
He wants to be a starter.
This is what you said.
No, he doesn't want to be a starter. No. Let's not change the narrative here. He wants to be a
starter.
No,
that's what you said, fam.
No, let's not change the narrative here. He with his manager, with his agent, categorically said he wants to be starting at the club. Right? We did not guarantee him a starting position, but we could have gone in and said, you know what, we are going to be ahead of Rob Holding and Pablo Mari. Am I wrong or right on that? And I've always stood behind that decision.
But that's what you said. You said to me and you said to CK that Saliba wanted guarantees that he would start, and he didn't feel that was acceptable with Ben White coming to the club.
I also believe
nothing to do with Pablo Mari or Rob Holding. That's what you said. It was because start.
No, he did want to start, but the fact of the matter is he already knows he's behind Rob Holding and Pablo Mari, as we saw last season. But
he wasn't at the club last season. He wasn't here last season.
He was here until the first half of the season. Let's not change things here. He was here until the first half of the season.
He wasn't registered.
No, he wasn't registered for the Europa League. He was registered for the Premier League. Let's not change something that was it. He was registered for the Premier League. He was registered for the Carling Cup, and he was registered for.
And you yourself have said why they didn't play him. And you know the reasons.
I know. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say.
What were the reasons? Not saying. What are you saying?
This year, no. Hear me out. Look. Hear me out. This year we've lost a centre back in David Luiz.
Yes.
We've gone in and bought a centre back over him in White, and we've decided to keep someone like Rob Holding, and we decided to keep someone like Pablo Mari over someone like Saliba. Are you telling me that's an acceptable decision?
Well, Rob Holding.
Am I right or wrong?
Wasn't Rob Holding kept after the Gabriel injury?
Yes.
So we were sending back down.
What
So
Gabriel
you need to
did?
keep
Gabriel
him,
wasn't
though.
injured.
Gabriel got injured before the Olympics. That's why he didn't go, and that's why Rob Holding was not sold.
Correct.
Olympics. There was no. I'm not talking about. We're not talking about this season. We're talking about last season. We're talking about if we're talking about this season. If we're talking about this season, obviously Rob Holding's already got a new contract with Arsenal. I can't see him leaving. But last season, when he was about to leave, Arteta kept him. Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, so Saliba comes back with all the family issues, and Arteta don't want to put him in the firing line. Is that not true?
Okay.
So
no, you're right. You're right. Whatever happened last season, by the way, you're right. But the fact is, he came back with his agent, sat down with Edu, and he said, "I want to be at least in your plans. I want to be one of the main starters of the club," which is right or wrong.
Yeah, he wanted to be a starter.
You can't guarantee a starter to someone who's never.
You can't guarantee a starter, but the fact is, you can tell him you're going to get games ahead of Pablo Mari and Rob Holding. I'm sorry, but you can say that.
That means you're telling him he's on the bench.
Do you think when Ramsdale came to the club? Do you think when Ramsdale came to the club, Arteta has categorically said to him that, you know what, I can't guarantee you starts at the club? I don't think he said that.
Yeah, he said that to him because he himself, Ramsdale, came in and said, Arteta told me that with Burn.
I don't think he would have left his comfort zone at Sheffield United. Do you think we went to Thomas Partey and said, you know what, you're not going to be a guaranteed star at the club, but we're going to sign you for £50 million anyways?
Completely different scale. And Ramsdale himself said, Arteta told me I'm meant to compete with Lennon.
For me, I feel like for me, regardless of what you say, I feel like it's a shocking decision to even. First of all, we went and signed a centre back ahead of him, and number two, we decided to keep Rob Holding and Pablo Mari over Saliba. I feel like it's massively shocking.
Why do you keep saying
decision.
Pablo Mari? Like, there was no way because he was sold.
Why shouldn't we? I feel like
no one even offered for Pablo Mari. Holding, there was offers like Newcastle wanted Holding earlier in the window, but Gabriel got injured.
There were interest in Pablo Mari earlier on in the window. There were interest in Pablo Mari, but the fact of the matter is, he should have been ahead in the pecking order anyways. Just like Cedric and Chambers are ahead of.
Did you not say that you do not wait?
But they weren't want to be in England the middle of the season where Arteta said
even want to be in the country, never mind the club.
That was for his loan at Newcastle, yes. He didn't want to be in England to
David.
He'd rather be at Marseille.
Can I reply to this David thing about a 30 mil goalkeeper on the bench? You can say that, but then if he puts Leno on the bench, he still has a 30 mil goalkeeper on the bench. So what's your point?
He didn't sign Leno though. That's what I'm saying. You cannot go into the window. No.
Him and Ramsdale were the same price. 23 and 20. It was actually 23 and 24.
Also another thing. Why did he start Tavares? Why did he start Kolasinac over Tavares today?
No clue. I wouldn't have done it. We spoke about it before.
No clue.
We all wanted Tavares to start.
This one. So that's what I'm trying to say. We cannot rationalize
but on the Kolasinac thing, though, he started Kolasinac and he was our best defender.
Then no one's justifying it. Okay, I hate this narrative just because you don't like one decision. Just because you have one decision that goes wrong, apparently you're justifying it. No, it's not justifying it. I don't think we should have started Kolasinac. I think we should have started Tierney and Tavares. I don't think we should start Kolasinac at all. No one's defending that. But the point of the matter is if we're talking about Saliba, we're talking about all these different things. William Saliba didn't even want to be in the country. You said to yourself that his agent was being very difficult to leave with. You said his agent was being very difficult to deal with, and he was trying to. He was just trying.
And I'm not going to change what I said.
Out the country.
I'm not going to change what I said.
No, I'm not saying. But I'm trying to remind you of what the narrative was.
I remember. You very clearly remember my meltdown at the time. I said we should not be signing Ben White because it means Saliba is going to be leaving. So how am I saying anything different? I don't think we should have signed Ben White and play and sent Saliba on loan. I never agreed
But
with that
Ben
decision in
White
the
was
first
not
place.
the Saliba replacement; it was the Luiz replacement. We both know that.
Oh, but
Saliba
it
himself
led.
didn't want to have the competition. He wanted to guarantee.
No,
So you just
it's
can't
not
get.
about the competition. It's
It
not the
is.
competition.
It is, of course
He
it
already
is.
knows. He already knows where he stands. He knows he's going to be behind Pablo Mari and Rob Holding. How can you be at a club?
Why do you keep
when
saying that? That's not the case.
It is the case. It
Arteta's
is the case.
no,
Why
no,
do you
it's not
think?
the
Why do you
case.
think?
It's
Why
not
do you
because
think?
you're saying Ben White was the biggest threat. So Pablo
What's
Mari
his
and
biggest
Holding
threat?
weren't threats to him. It was Ben White.
Ben White obviously is one of the biggest factors because the fact is you're proactively.
Yeah, but is it Ben
Listen,
White or is it Pablo
in
Mari
an
and Rob
ideal
Holding?
world, in an ideal world, the most perfect replacement for David Luiz would have been Saliba. In the most perfect world, the ideal replacement for Luiz would have been Saliba. But we went in and we scouted with two centre backs in Tapsoba and Ben White, and we got in
Who
Ben
are
White.
also a great replacement for
That
David
show
Luiz.
that shows we did not have Saliba's future
There's a
in our
difference
best
between
interest,
being a
wanted
starter.
and we did not decide. We not even push to keep him and say, look, you are going to be playing ahead of Rob Holding and
oh
and
my
Pablo
gosh.
Mari. I feel like again.
This has
I feel
nothing to
like
do
again.
with Rob Holding and Pablo Mari. Nothing to do with
No,
them.
it is
No,
because
it isn't. It isn't. No, it isn't.
you have to keep your
How is
best assets.
you have to let me
You have to
finish. You have to let me finish. Okay? The reason why it's nothing to do with Pablo Mari is because again, Saliba would have been in the right hand side of that partnership. Yes or no?
No, he's not. He's barely played right centre back. He's been.
He played right
Was he
centre
not?
back in
He is going. He would be the. He's not left footed, is he?
He can play left centre back because he played there
He
on
can
loan
play.
at Nice, but
Yes,
he can play both.
he can play both. But Arteta, in his system, he's right footed. He would play at the right side of the centre back for me. You said it was the Luiz replacement. If you could be the Luiz replacement, where did Luiz played at right centre back? He didn't play at left centre back.
Does that justify him
So,
being?
no. You have to let me finish. You have to let me finish. Okay. So if you're saying Rob Holding is fine, I can understand you're saying maybe he thinks he's behind the pecking order with Rob Holding, but his competition is not Pablo Mari, it's not Gabriel, it's Rob Holding, and it's Ben White. And the thing you have to realize is if you have competition, no one is guaranteed a starting position. No one's ahead or behind in this. If you earn your place in the squad, like look at El Neni. El Neni was pushed out and he worked his way back in the squad. If he wanted to stay and compete for his position, he would have stayed and competed for his position. But he wanted to guaranteed understand. You wanted a guarantee at what's happening in the squad, and that I don't understand. If you want guaranteed, it's the same as the Martinez situation. You can't guarantee people minutes. You can say, okay, 95%. You're saying 95%. You can start any solely. It's a different situation. But the point is we do not guarantee people starting positions. You have to realize that you compete for a position in the squad.
I agree with that. I agree with you on that. On the fact
so it's not Mari. So stop mentioning Mari. It's Holding and it's not Mari. It's Holding and White.
We shouldn't. Okay, forget that for a second. We shouldn't be guaranteeing players any starting position, which is why I was already okay with Martinez leaving because he didn't decide to fight. But you know what,
David, about 5 minutes a day. Cool.
Well, watching Arteta over time, he already has his guaranteed starters. By the way, he already has his guaranteed starters.
The point I'm trying to say is if you wanted, he was trying to be. He was difficult with we wanted to start him in preseason. We even let him. We said if you want to go to the Olympics, you can go to the Olympics. We tried to accommodate him. Maybe he wasn't given the assurances that he wanted. I can understand. But the point of the fact of the matter is you have to realize it's not just all. Oh, Saliba should we diss Saliba. We didn't diss Saliba. We understand that he's a young asset that we need to make sure that we put in the right situation. But if his mental state and his agents aren't right, then you need to. Xhaka isn't a guaranteed starter. Who says Xhaka's a guaranteed starter?
For me, like
I don't believe that.
Evidently,
I don't believe that either.
The guaranteed starters in our team right now are Tierney, Partey, and Saka.
I can tell you
Yes.
for a fact Xhaka is probably the first name of the sheet for a fact. He has started the
Yes.
most games under Arteta.
You've
And
literally
you know what?
said an opinion as a fact. You've literally just
No,
said an opinion as a
he
fact.
has started the most games under
He
Arteta. You can go
started,
in and
yes,
search.
but yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
you can
he's.
go in and
Right.
search it. So it's not
But
an opinion of a
why
fact.
why does he start a lot? Because he's never injured, and guys like Partey kept getting injured under Arteta. And Terrell wasn't here, Kunduz wasn't here.
You cannot go in and say tell me that he's not a guaranteed starter when there is no proof to suggest he isn't a
There is
guaranteed
proof
starter.
because when Partey was fit, and then he played a lot more
Yes.
instead of Xhaka.
What in 2 games? What was it? Just 2 games. Is that all we saw, bro?
I don't know the number. Off the top
We
of
have
my
more
head. I'm not
examples,
gonna.
by the way.
Okay, again,
We have more examples when
go on.
we
Keep
have more
going.
examples on where we've seen players not being able to earn their time on the pitch despite performances. Example, Pepe last season, despite his goals and assists, he was always on the bench the following game. What does that say? What does it say? I don't think anybody can justify what Arteta has already shown to us.
What's your
When we're
obsession
talking
with
about competition?
justification? We don't have to justify
No,
Arteta's.
I
We don't have
don't
to
think
justify
no.
what he does because he's going to
Justifying
do
for me,
what he wants to do.
justification is the only way we can. For me, justification is the only way I can assess whether Arteta right now is probably the man for the job. I don't think he is
You're
anymore.
not talking
But
to Edu and Lewis right now. You're talking to me and CK.
no,
Where
We can't,
we have our opinion.
our justification won't do
I'm
anything.
not
We
just talking
can't
to you.
control
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
what he
I'm
does
just
for his
telling
job.
you.
So like him picking Kolasinac, I can disagree with the decision, but I can see what was positive and what was
No,
negative about the decision. I'm not here to justify his each and every move because I've consistently said the past couple of weeks, the first 2 games are 100% on him. But then I'm here to justify him. I'm not here to justify what he's done, but certain things like the Xhaka thing, like the consistent Xhaka thing, I really don't think Xhaka's as bad as a lot of people pay him out to be, but it is what it is, isn't it?
No, I don't. Look. Me and Z are on the same page with Xhaka. I don't like Granit Xhaka. I think he disrespected the club. I don't like who he is as a person. I don't think he's someone that I want at my club. But he is at the club, and he cost us 3 points today. Well, not 3 points. He cost us 1 point. I think we could have maybe got back in that game. I don't think we do, but we might have been able to. I was saying to Z earlier, you can't deal in hypotheticals. So if you think Granit Xhaka is the guy, then fair enough. But I think he's too rash. I think he goes to ground too easily, and I think he has issues with being in the Premier League. I think he's more of a Serie A player. I don't think he's a Premier League player. But I think really
starting because Partey is injured. And
yes.
for me, and even before we signed him, when we all spoke about Lokonga, he's not. Well, if you've even watched the Chelsea game and stuff, in transition, he's so poor defensively that you don't want him to be the DM because he's the last line in your midfield. And right now, no matter what anyone says, Xhaka's a better DM than him. He may be more mobile, but Xhaka is a better DM than him. And they have worked together sometimes, but I wouldn't have started Lokonga over Xhaka today anyways. But sorry, Colin, you can keep going.
Yeah, honestly, no. What I'm trying to say to you is, I'm not here to justify anything. I'm here to give my opinion, and my opinion is there's good arguments on both sides and there's terrible arguments on both sides. That's my opinion. I think there are reasons you can say because I'm telling you right now, I could be Arteta out so easily and actually be rational about it. Because I think Z is actually quite rational about it. But there's some of the arguments I hear that it's just silly. Like my issue is that you're looking, as Z was saying, it's to do with David, surprise, David, mate. If you want to go to League Gunner, you want to hear him. You want to hear him bait off 12-year-olds. Go for it, mate. I don't think that's not that's not the content we do here. But if you want to hear him go sarcastically look at people's Twitter profiles and mock their appearance, then you go for that, mate. I'm not here for League fucking Gunner. You can piss off, mate. So, if we're looking at Arteta and we're looking at what he does at the club right now, I just think we have to look at the situation that where we're looking at right now. So as I'm gonna say it again. Liverpool lost both centre backs in their club when they went on a 5-game losing streak. No one said anything. Everyone said poor Liverpool. They've gone on a bad losing streak. It's obviously they're having an injury crisis right now. Hang on a second. We've lost both our centre backs and our best DM. They've lost both their centre backs and probably their leader in Jordan Henderson, and no one said a thing. Everyone just said, "Oh, it's just an injury crisis." I know Klopp's done a lot more than Arteta has, and he's
do you know
obviously
why the narrative's a bit different?
because Klopp has won more.
Because their fans continue with the thing. We have injuries, we'll be back. Our fans is just continue to attack us. Liverpool are better than us and have better options than us and have a better squad than us. But the circumstances in losing your leaders is the same. And Freepin, probably you're a United fan,
Yes.
and I know that. But Liverpool struggled a lot throughout the season. They even lost 5 home games in a row for the first time in their history. So there was unprecedented stuff happening to them when they had key players injured. And that's just what happens when a team already struggles with depth, loses their key players.
Yeah. Look, fine, sure, let's do this. I'm more than happy to do this. Anyone disagree with us? I'm more than happy to do this.
Overmars, I do, and
Enrique for me.
I do not want Conte. Honestly,
it's not my appearance that he mocked. Don't worry about me. I'm a big boy. He's not mocked my appearance, but he's mocked random 12-year-olds on Twitter. But the point I'm trying to...
What do you want, Z? I'm guessing you're not here. Who do you want?
For me, it's Enrique for me. But you know me, I'm a 4-3-3 merchant, so I think Enrique is the best. Why do I not want Conte? Because I don't want to. We're not in the position for Conte right now. I'm sorry, we're just not. We don't have the squad that.
When you went through the back and Arteta got success with it, everyone complained about us being through the back and being boring. But we're going to do the same thing under Conte. He is a winner, but after a year, he always goes stale.
It's not even going stale. It's just I just don't feel like his.
I think we all know what Conte brings to any club. He's a short-term manager, but he gives you instant success. So I think if our fans are wanting instant success, then I think we should also respect some parts of the fan base that.
I'm sorry, I don't respect our fan base. I just don't.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I just don't.
That's a completely different argument.
Look, I'm sorry, but if you look at our,
I can see the reasons that I want Conte. It's just not my thing to be one and done like Chelsea, like 1 year.
I'm sorry, but our fan base, our fan base said we should have sold Maitland-Niles last year for 20 mil and then complain about Willock for signing for 20, leaving for 25. I'd have no respect. There's no consistency. People have no idea about actually maintaining an argument, being consistent. No one has a clue. Everyone wants to change the narrative. I saw people one day saying Ramsdale is the worst goalkeeper on earth, and then the minute he turned up to sign up his contract with Grandad's Ashes, they wanted to make him look like Kante. I'm sorry, no, I don't care. Robin, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. I really don't care.
Individuals in the fan base, but in general, he probably doesn't. But like for me, it's like I don't want Conte because I've been on record saying we probably have the best.
I don't want Conte either.
Crop of youth in the world right now, and to give it to Conte for a year when he notoriously does use youth, but he'll be forced to. But after a year, he's not the same Conte that wins Chelsea the league, because he wins the league and he goes spends 100+ mil and then finishes 5th. That's Conte, like. And Arsenal fans probably don't have the patience. They don't think they have the patience anymore. But after that first year, they're going to have a problem, because we had it with Emery. Emery did well the first year to finish 5th. He bottled 4th, but he did well to finish 5th. And the next year he went stale, and people were quick to hound him out. So I don't think a lot of our fan base really know.
Honestly,
I know I want a long term, man.
He bottled 4th as well.
Gallardo, Nagelsmann's gone, but someone like that, like
I would love Marsh, but he's gone as well.
Yeah, so I want someone
Ragnick is
who
okay.
won't be here for 1 year. No,
Ragnick is okay.
Ranić won't work with other people though. Ranić does stuff by
Yeah.
himself. Like, he wants control everywhere, and he's probably way more of a control. He's Wenger, but with even less help. Not the quality, but in terms of the control in most departments. That's what Ralph Ranić brings. But yeah, like for me, it's Potter is the main. A lot of people want Potter in it. A lot of people want Potter. I wouldn't mind it, but it's just weird,
Wedge,
man.
mate. Let me know when you're okay, because you got a lot of static there, mate. When you're okay, just give me a thumbs up. I'll mute you, mate.
Brendan Rodgers. I don't want Brendan Rodgers just because we really struggle with injuries, and he guarantees you an ACL every year. So that's not for me.
Okay.
Okay.
You good? Yeah. Good. Okay, let me just. Right, let me unmute him. Oh God. There you go, mate. You good?
Yeah, all good, bro. All good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But on the topic
How you feeling, bro?
Say Arteta goes, who would you want? And say Edu goes, who would you want?
Firstly, are we saying, do I want Arteta to go, or if he
Answer that
does?
first, in fact. Answer that first.
That
I'm
question
still
first,
Arteta.
and then we'll.
Yeah, I'm still Arteta in. I'm not necessarily actually. Let me rephrase that. I'm not Arteta out. Let's put it like that.
Understood.
I think so far this season, and we can talk about last season, and we can talk about kind of like the Europa League and all of that kind of thing. But that's a different conversation. If we're basing it solely on this season, I don't think that he's given a fair crack at it yet. The amount of injuries that we've had, the COVID situation, all of that kind of thing, it does mess with a team's dynamics and stuff. So I'm not saying that he's necessarily the right guy, and he could end up in the next few games proving why he should be sacked. But I think that he should be given the opportunity to at least put in the players that he does want to put in. Because in my opinion, Gabriel, White, and Partey, those three players alone make a massive difference to our team. So I don't think that he's been given a fair crack this season. If he was to be sacked, I don't know who we're going to get. I'll be honest with you guys. I have no idea.
Who would you want, though?
Who would I want? I would want someone like a Ten Hag, personally.
Okay. And if Edu went?
If Edu went, and I think he's the one that he should be sacked.
Me too,
ASAP.
right?
If Edu went, I'd want someone like, there's, is it Ralph Rangnick?
Yeah.
Ragnick. I'll give you some names, mate. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. So we have Overmars available or Ragnick. We were associated with Louis Campos's scouting agency this summer, so he's maybe someone we can prize. These kinds of names. Maybe someone that we don't know as well. So any thoughts? Maybe someone like that.
Yeah, I think Luis Campos is probably the one that stands out the most. I think he's probably the one that kind of like sticks out to you, especially with the job that he did at Lille. I do like personally, and I know some people that don't like him, but I do like Overmars at Ajax as well. I think he's done a decent job there. So yeah, I mean, personally, I'll go for Ralph Ragnick. I think the guy's got a good eye. I think he knows not just is he good at building a team, but he's good at being able to implement a kind of like a style into a team. Because one thing that I would say, and this is connected to Arteta and Edu. When Arteta was made manager by Vinay, I think it was about a year ago. Was it this time last year that he was manager? That was a sign by Vinay, basically saying, Edu isn't up to the task alone. We need you to help. So here you go. We're making you from first team coach We're now making you a manager to be able to help Edu. It was almost virtually like a demotion, to be honest, for Edu. Now, that in itself is a red flag. If someone's not capable of doing that job alone, they shouldn't be doing it at all. And when you have two people on the same level trying to do one job, it will always clash. So my opinion is that if there is a future for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, I think you might not be able to do it externally because it might be a little bit humiliating for him and blah blah. But I think behind the scenes they should strip away that manager thing and bring in a real competent technical director of football that can actually come in and say, "Yo, listen, Mikel, thank you very much. We're taking these responsibilities away from you. You just focus on the coaching aspect, which by all accounts he is world class at." Coaching. I'm talking just specifically about the coaching element, and just let him focus on that and bring in a competent director of football that can do the rest of the stuff. Will Arsenal do it? I highly doubt it. But if they were to do it, Ralph Rangnick would suit that role perfectly. But it's down to whether Arsenal have the balls to do it or not.
Yeah.
Right. So I just. Before we move on to talking about Edu, because we want to talk about his role in this summer. On Mikel himself, I just think if we look at what's happened today, if we look at what's happened in the past 3 games, there are good things and bad things in all 3 games. I think especially in all 3 games he's obviously had a hand in. He's obviously had a real sort of. He's let down the fans in a massive way, and I don't think that there are real things that he's made mistakes in. Like today, for example, no Tierney Tavares, Kolasinac, or being so open with Xhaka and Ødegaard, or even after Xhaka got sent off, not bringing someone on. Like, why did you make a sub that to counteract the overloads they were going to produce in midfield, because we were playing one CM and that was Ødegaard until half time, and it just seems like we're lost. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about today's game. We're going to be doing a podcast on that, but in the Chelsea game, there was no reason to go 4-2-3-1. There was 3-4-3 was on the cards. Again, I don't understand this insistence with Kolasinac at left centre back. I thought he was meant to be leaving. I'm very disappointed he's still around the club. The other thing I will say is the Brentford game. We lacked creativity. We lacked a cutting edge. We had both Martinelli and Balogun having very poor games, and some of the lateness of the substitutions were very bad. We had Nelson come on in like the 80 something minute. I mean, what was he going to do? It was 2-0 down, and Leno getting out muscled like that. It was just there's a lot of questions. So there he had his hand in all 3 games, but I'm going to say the other side as well. 4 players out with COVID in 2 hours before the game. And you have to redo your entire opening day fixture. The second game, the fitness of Saka, I'm not going to put it all on him, but both goals he didn't track back.
I mean, Corin, let's be honest. The first game should have been cancelled.
Say that again?
Yeah, agreed.
Let's be honest, the first game should have been cancelled. Ultimately, Ben White ended up getting COVID 2 days later, and he was playing 2 days before that against Brentford with potentially COVID. It just didn't make sense for the game to go ahead. But there you go. That's the Premier League, isn't it?
So, the second game, you had no centre backs that started. You had 2 centre backs, both starting centre backs out, and then. Now you're talking about having you're starting Mari and Holding against debut Lukaku. I'm sorry, but that's like saying that's like saying Lovren and Matip or something like that for Liverpool back in the day. You know what I mean? It's just it's you have to realize that we're in a state right now where we're still, as the windows pass, we're going to. How many players have we made leave each window now? A hell of a lot. It's not like we're not doing things. I mean, I want more, but it's not like we're not getting. I'm not saying we're getting players out.
I think with the players out and players in, I think we should just wait. There's only 3 days left, anyways.
No, but the point is, my point is that every window we've got rid of multiple players by any means necessary. Like, it's not like we're not forcing players out. We're not forcing them out at the veracity that I would maybe like, and I don't like it, but I think we are trying our best to get players out, and that goes to show the amount of dead players that were hired under, even going back to Wenger. Like, look at today's lineup. Today's lineup, 8 out of that starting 11 were Wenger signings.
Yes, yeah.
That's true, Curran. But at the same time, a lot of these players have been recruited or doubled down on by Arteta. Like, when you look at Holding, he gave him a new contract. When you look at Cedric and Mari, he bought them. When you look at Willian, he bought Willian. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly on the whole Wood thing. But Arteta has also, and you know what, yeah? I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that there was an element to Arteta's lineup today that was trying to prove a point to the higher ups?
Maybe.
I think even before in the preview, I said he's going to try something because he has to try to prove at least a point. So I do think he tried to prove some sort of thing. Yeah,
because I still, until this day, I cannot. It doesn't enter my mind, I can't rationalize why Kolasinac played today. I can't. I'm not being able to understand it. One day you're trying to terminate his contract. It's not like we're looking to sell him. It's not like, for example, a Willock situation. You're trying to terminate his contract. You're trying to just say, we really don't want you, to the next day him starting as a left centre back against Man City away from home. It really boggles my mind, and the only explanation in my head is that he's trying to prove a point. I can't think of any other reason for that.
I think I will say to you right now that the only thing I can think about, because that Tavares versus Kolasinac is still pissing me off. I think that's the main one everyone's going on about, right? Why did he start Kolasinac? And I think he saw something in the West Brom game that he thought, I could maybe get away with Kolasinac at left centre back, and I hate it. I think it's a really stupid decision, but that's my feeling against it. Like, because he did have an okay game against West Brom. I don't agree with it, but I'm playing devil's advocate.
He was even with the Kolasinac thing. We keep going on about it, but I think Kolasinac has been the best. He was the best defender today, in my opinion.
I don't know,
Chambers and Holding.
They were all rubbish, man.
Chambers and Holding definitely was. Chambers was the worst.
Chambers was so bro.
We didn't want to
Chambers, man. I mean, I don't want to get to. I don't want to go that route with this, but like,
what do you guys honestly think was wrong today, tactically? Because I really don't think there was much wrong tactically.
I think not starting Lokonga was a main thing for me. I think if you were going to start,
that's personnel, not tactics, Con.
Oh, tactics wise, I think we were. Personally, I think we were too. If we were going to set up 5-4-1, we were letting runners go past too much. We were letting runners run past us at ridiculous amounts. Like, I understand, because we wanted 5-4-1 low block. That's what we wanted, to hit them on the counter. You remember yesterday?
Yeah.
That was the plan. But like, I just feel like we were positionally wise, we were not capable to keep up with the runs of people like Gundogan, Bernardo Silva, even Ferran Torres. They were just having their way with us because we weren't mobile enough in midfield to actually go with would actually make sure that we could actually keep up with the runs. And I just felt we were too static. Like, we weren't able to keep up with runners that were going past us, and that's how we started conceding. And also, we were playing like that first goal. 4-man could have cleared that ball. 4-man.
The first goal, yeah, even when the ball comes in the box, Gundogan should not be getting his head onto it. He just shouldn't.
Yeah, that's Chambers, isn't it? That's the competence of our centre backs, mate. We have there's no competence whatsoever in the way to defend. You know what the problem is? Sorry to cut you off, CK.
Yeah.
You know what the problem is, and this is what worries me, is that the drop off between our starting centre backs and our backup centre backs is way too big. It's just too big. The drop off from Gabriel and White to Mari and Holding is so big that you potentially have to change formation as soon as one of your centre backs gets injured, and that's just unbelievable at a big club like Arsenal.
Waj, let me tell you one. Sorry.
Yeah,
if you lose one, right, we've lost both, fam.
Yeah,
both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe if you have one, the other one. If you have one of them, right? Maybe the other one can cover or make recovery runs or do something to try and marshal that defense. But both, fam, both.
Yeah.
It's mad. But as CK said, they're the two of the best clubs in Europe as well. Like,
they literally played each other in the Champions League final
a
couple months ago.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It is true.
I thought we'd lose, but the manner is what I think. The manner is what a lot of people have the problem with, because the manner against City, no matter what, we shouldn't ever lose like that. But I think the red card just completely blew the scoreline out of proportion. But I really think that, like, even with our best 11, we lose to City.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't dispute that. But what I would say is, when you look at, for example, Chelsea today, how they dealt with 10 men, you could see 10 players there that were fighting, that were hungry, that were that kind of thing. Whereas when you look at the Arsenal players, and guys, you guys, I would be interested to what you guys think. But I think there, out of the 10 players that were on the pitch and that were playing, how many there would you say are still going to be at the club or have a future at the club?
Out of today's lineup?
Out of once we had a red card, once we got a red card.
So, I think Leno leaves next season. Are we disagreeing with that?
Yeah.
So, I think Chambers might be leaving after the season. I think Holding as well. Kolasinac, obviously. I don't think either the left side, so not Tierney. I don't think Tierney leaves, obviously. Who was our right? Cedric, obviously. Yeah, he goes soon. Odegaard, no. Xhaka, yes. We've already seen that he's going to leave next season. Let's be real. So, and then Emil, no. Alba, unknown. Maybe next season he goes. We don't know. And then Saka, no. So 3 for sure stay, and then.
So of that 10, of those 10 players, we've said 6 are going to probably be leaving. 1's an unknown, and 3 are going to have a future at the club. So how on earth are we meant to be battling against Man City with 11 men? Is tough. So imagine with 10, with 6 of those players that probably don't even want to be at the club. Yeah,
it's mental. I mean,
it is crazy.
What I'll say to you, mate, is it's very simple. It's just short-term revisionism is what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm trying not to be disrespectful, but the fact is that people are looking at 3 games, a 3-game window, and they're saying, that's it, it's over, everything's over. So it's just I think it's too soon. I think that you have to, as the newest man will say, my good friend George will say, 10 games. You need 10 games to look at what's happening at the season, and that's Leicester, 2 Carabao Cup games and 8 league games, and again, George, you turned up literally at the perfect time. I was literally about to use your exact points. Literally,
Man,
I was about.
I only got 20 minutes, so I'm in between
Yeah.
errands. But yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, but like what I was trying to say was, with 8 games with 8 games to go, Man City was 6 points off top 6, and they won the title. I'm not saying we're title challengers, but you have to understand that if you have to look at things as, if you're 6 points away from top 4, you're not out of the race after 8 games. I agree with you, Yoz. Leno kills up our build-up play. I think he's going to get. I think I honestly think Arteta's future might depend on how quickly he replaces Leno.
Yeah.
Do we disagree here? Anyone?
No, I think Ramsdale probably comes in versus Norwich, but I feel sorry for certain players in our team, to be honest, because these losses have changed the narrative. A couple players, like Aubameyang's reputation.
Look,
Even Tierney today.
Look, Chris, mate, like I haven't been able to hear. Sorry, lads. Like I've been running errands. I haven't heard what you guys talked about before. But fundamentally, what I don't understand from a period of perspective is, if you had gone into the season with enough evidence that, in your opinion, Mikel was the right manager, then I do not understand how, under the circumstances and with 3 games left, that a matchstick has switched your opinion the other way. That I find is very short-termism.
Yep.
I don't understand it. It lacks nuance and context, because many of the people that I've seen citing it then start to cite the previous bad run of games from the previous season, where we had that 40% of the season where we really struggled. That's what I'm seeing. So in my mind, I feel as though then that you didn't feel he was the right man coming into the beginning of the season, and you were already at that point. And for that point, I will respectfully disagree. You have your reasons for doing that, and they're valid. Like, there are things that Mikel does not do right. He does not do all of the tactics correct. But there are objective evidence, in my opinion, for both sides. I feel as though this game, what frustrates me is people are claiming tactics when he absolutely set us up the correct way. Individual errors and circumstance killed the game, as many times happens when you set up against City in a 5-4-1. That was completely different to what I wanted. It was a low block. It was what people wanted, a counter-attack team against a back line that are championship quality at best. So when you do leak errors and you do have individual mistakes, I just find it very odd that this is the game of your matchstick. This is the turning point for you, when the entire back line is completely not of the level. Now, are there some decisions and personnel that I agree with in terms of his lineup? Yes. Are there some that I don't? Absolutely. I don't agree with all of them, but there was a very purposed approach to what we did, and the system was factually working until individual errors caused quick succession goals. I don't know what the heck Chambers is doing. He's a liability. I said on the pre-match, this is a problem. Chambers is a problem right now. First goal is completely his fault. Second goal, fine. You want to get punched, which I still can't believe that wasn't called off on VAR, but you have to be stronger, get up. It gave me Mustafi vibes, in Man City when he got touched in the back and he fell down, buying an out. Yes, you were touched. It was probably worse than that, but get up, play on. 2 individual goals, then Xhaka goes in, which, in my opinion, debatable red card. But once it happens, you're now 2-0 down with a red card inside, what was it, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
When I'm looking, was it the same as Chelsea, where tactically he didn't set us up the best, despite missing our key players? I don't think so. I think he set us up correctly.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, George, to be honest. Obviously, I'm fuming still, and I was fuming during the game. I was fuming for loads of different reasons. Obviously, we kind of discussed it as well briefly. But like, even you've heard me say it a lot of times before these 3 games. Like before Brentford, before Chelsea, before City, we had to make signings to even be in for points. In August, we've hardly made any signings. We've got the attacking midfielder signing too late. Yeah, that was fine. We didn't have him for Chelsea. We had him for City. But besides that, like you already said, we've got all these players out and players that we need. Partey, we need against City. Even if our squad was full strength, on top of that, you've already said this. We don't have our 2 starting centre backs. I mean, I expected to lose this with our best 11. let alone with our 11 minus 3, 4, including Mikel's awful personnel choices today as well. I agree with you. The system was fine. We could have actually probably nicked something today if it wasn't for individual errors, like you said as well. So yeah, I'm not too pissed. Like
Wait,
overall, like, I'm not gonna call for his head based on this game because I expected 0 points. I know we also said we should have got a minimum of maybe 5 points, but that was before. That was like a month ago before we found out. Three of our players are injured. 4 of our players are injured. 3 of them have got COVID or whatever the fuck has happened. You know what I mean? So I think when you apply context and context to the situation, I don't know why people are having a meltdown. Like this is Mikel's final straw. Like, who genuinely expected to win these 2 games? One's a Premier League fucking title winner, the other just beat them to get the Champions League. So we're not on their level. We know we're not on their level.
Well, I think we need to be fair in this discussion because obviously, maybe you're right. We probably didn't expect to win any of those games, but the fact of the matter is, we should have seen a better effort. We should have at least seen some collective decisions where from Arteta we could say, okay, you know what, he gave us the best chances of winning. I don't think he did that. I
That
think
lineup today gives us the best chance of winning that game.
I don't think it
Apart
does,
from
mate.
Cl-
I think the formation does. I think the formation does.
atta-
But the personnel,
He
for
attacked.
sure.
He went with Odegaard for a reason. He went to go
Can I
for it
explain the Odegaard thing? Because I've seen a lot of crap
this
on the
game. He
timeline.
actually went to win it back and get.
Because
draw.
I want to explain it tactically and why the coach chose Odegaard. Because I've seen some weird things that Xhaka was a lone DM. That's false. He was not a lone DM. It was in a clear 5-4-1. And what he wanted Odegaard there for was because Elneny has no forward pass. While he could block space, he wanted Odegaard to facilitate a build-up to release Aubameyang. That was the plan. And he wanted to keep it tight at the back, and that's why he had a 5 in the back, and he wanted to use Odegaard as the out. And that's why he was paired next to Xhaka and instead of Elneny. The only thing that I've seen was that switch from people. But that was the reason, because for him, he had no technical security in the back line. Take a look at that back 5. None. So he said,
if we had Elneny instead of Odegaard, we wouldn't have even got out of our half.
but
So I completely agree with the Odegaard decision. I don't even think that was the issue. I think the issue was literally playing players who were not up to it. And let me just quickly answer Archie in the chat who's asking who our level is. I mean, I know it's a bit of like a snarky question, to be honest, but if you think we're on Chelsea and City's level in terms of squad, then I think you kind of need to realign your expectations because we're not even close. It's not as if, like, okay, fair enough, we spent the most this summer, but if you compare the value of our squad and our current players, it's nowhere near what City's was worth, and it's nowhere near what Chelsea's was worth either. So, they weren't even willing to pay more than 15 million for Xhaka. You know what I mean? Our probably most expensive player out there, who was it? It would probably be Odegaard. You know what I mean? Which we bought for 29 million. Do you think we could even get that for Aubameyang? Maybe. We could probably get that for Saka, but Saka, we didn't pay anything for. Same with Smith Rowe. So, our most expensive players are fucking aren't players that we've invested in. They're literally academy products. So
I don't like this. I don't. Just give me a second, George. I don't like this idea that we have to be on a level with certain squads. We are Arsenal. We are who we are. Every game take as a game individually. Stop looking at the projections for the entire season. Talk about what's going on at the moment. Let's not. It's not. We're not even 10 games in. We're already doing. We need to up. We're going to get. This is the same as December last year. We need to stop looking at it in terms of a long the season when we're not even we're 10% in the way in.
We're not.
We're not even. We're not. It's like 38 games, so 3 games in. So
the thing is, if you play a certain way,
I think we need to be fair.
Sorry, go on.
See, you keep saying you need to be fair, but we are trying to be as fair as possible, mate.
I don't think we are being fair because look, I think you guys are judging our performance from the start of the season, which I think we shouldn't, because I think we should be looking at the way the team has been playing since the start of pre-season. I feel like it's been brewing since then.
That's rubbish, mate. That's unfair. That's unfair.
I don't think it is, because
Pre-season results do not matter, mate. If that is the case, if that was the case, the Audi Cup would be Tottenham's last cup.
That's
It's
fine.
not
That's
the-
fair
it's
enough
not the
to you.
last
That's
cup.
fair enough to you. Look, I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is we haven't seen any good performances since preseason, and that's a fact. We haven't seen a good performance
Watford and
preseason,
Millwall.
and I feel like it's been brewing since then. There is no escaping from the fact that
We just
on.
spanked West Brom 6-0.
Hold on,
That
Z.
was that not a good performance?
Hold on.
No,
I can understand. I can understand the anxiety. This is what I don't want to get across, okay? Because I don't want it to be that I back everything the man has done. He's done no wrong, and that at the end of the day, we can whitewash performances that haven't been good, regardless of injuries and context. I don't want to do that because they have not been good enough, and they aren't
They
good.
haven't been good.
But
No.
where I draw the line is yardstick projecting your point on whether or not he has been suitable in the role for his entirety. What I mean by that is Arteta good enough, yes or no? And to decide that on 3 games is the definition of short-termism for me if you had felt he was okay going into the season. Now, I don't think that everything he's done is correct. I don't believe that he's been given. I use this example for Wenger because I think I draw very similar similarities where in the end, he always had his hands tied behind his back, but I think he pencil dived into the ocean. And I'm seeing decisions right now where logically he's not setting us up in the best way to win in several games, which is true. But at the same token, he has not had his players to play the philosophy or a spine. I get this on Twitter a lot, but mate, we always play 10 minutes really good and then we capitulate. I go, I'm sorry, guys, no offense. That's a definition of a lacking of a spine. If you don't have a spine.
Well, mate, if you look at Liverpool, they had Van Dijk out and they barely made top 4. Like they really struggled this season. How big of a difference does that make? We had how many important players out? We had it basically our entire spine out, like George was saying. So it's going to matter. And it's not even like having low expectations. As I said before, we went into the first game of the season, I expected us to get 5 points. So I expected us to beat Brentford, and I expected us to at least scrape a draw from Chelsea and City. Like that's the bare minimum what I expected. But that was based on having our strongest 11 and some sort of attacking midfielder. You know, for the Chelsea game, we had nothing. We had -6 players, no attacking midfielder. For the Chelsea game, we might as well. For the City game, we might as well not have had that anyway. You know what I mean? Because you know, you had Chambers and fucking Cedric and team.
And lastly, when you draw the Liverpool example, just really quickly, who did suffer an absolute drop-off, by the way, 100%, who did they have as their replacement squad depth in the back? Fabinho and Henderson. Is that Mari Holding?
No.
It's just a simple question. And do we have somebody that could repeat it of similar quality? Like, this is my struggle, because even with Liverpool losing their spine, their depth and their secondary options, is that the same level as our squad? And is Arteta allowed to be blamed for things that are out of his control? What do I mean by that? COVID. Is he allowed to be blamed for that? Is he allowed to be blamed for the missing players that he's done? I don't believe so, but he is.
One thing I'll say is
in tactics, in terms of, for example, Chelsea, I don't understand the overload and the 3-4-3 negligence against Chelsea. I'm with people on.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say though is everyone's had to deal with COVID, so it's not like a unique problem for Arteta. However,
but the thing is, Wave, when you talk about go on.
I was going to say not everyone has had to deal with a rebuild our size during COVID, so it's both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? It's everyone deals with it, but also it's affected us more because we need to sell players that other people can't afford. But then is that like a lack of ambition on our owners' part? You know, if they were really ambitious and really cared about football, they would cut the losses even more, like they did in January, saying, look, listen, we need to get back on top. Just sell these players for whatever people are willing to pay. If not, just release them.
But guys,
players in.
Yeah, but what I would counter to, especially what you were saying, George, I agree with you on everything in terms of the personnel that was missing and the squad depth and all of that kind of thing. I completely agree with you. and the context. Like I said from the beginning, I'm not necessarily Arteta out. I'm not. But there are players in that team. As an example, Granit Xhaka today. That game, the way we were dominated, especially in that second half, was a result of his actions. Yeah. Now, whether we say it was a red card or not a red card, you can accept that it was a red card. At least I can accept that it was a red card, because the type of challenge, it's widely known in football that if you leave with both feet in the air, you're probably going to get a red card. So I can accept the challenge. The problem that I have is that Granit Xhaka was on his way out. It was Arteta that pulled that back, doubled down on him, has given him a new contract. And for me, I see Granit Xhaka as that kind of like that bridge between the old regime and the new one. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily because he's a terrible player.
We all do, mate.
Because,
he's representative of everything
under that bridge. Yeah. Now you have to look at Granit Xhaka and you have to think, and I said this when Granit Xhaka signed a new contract, and not because I don't like him as a player, but because of the water and that bridge and the history of the player. Granit Xhaka could potentially be the reason why Arteta gets sacked. It happened with Emery, where he made him a captain, and the rest is history. And now Arteta has doubled down on Granit Xhaka again. He had the opportunity to move away from him, and he didn't. And now, literally 3 games into the season, he's done a reckless challenge. He's cost the team, at least in terms of pride-wise, because we were absolutely dominated in that second half. It was like 97% possession at some point, and that's down to Granit Xhaka's temperament. He did the same thing against Burnley last season. The chips were down, and he's done the same thing again this season. At some point, you've got to look at it and you've got to think, well, Arteta, you literally had it in your hands to be able to transition away from him.
So, Waj, there's one question I want to ask you, because I think this is Arteta. I think Xhaka is a lightning rod for a lot of what those on the opposite opinion with Arteta out want to critique him for. That he's emblematic of a lot of things, right? For me, the one question I would have asked is, would you have been okay with Granit Xhaka staying but not starting?
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
I would have been happy with that.
Okay. And my issue has been, the debate has been people saying you had it in your hands to get rid of the player. But my issue is, why the hell have the owners not secured a center midfielder that can replace the man in there? And because Granit Xhaka is not the first problem at Arsenal, and he's not the last. And I think that transfer meant a lot in terms of our authority in the market.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is accepting £13 million for an international star would cement our status as less than the elite. You cannot be doing those things when they're offering £2 million and £40 million for Abraham later. Now, if the question is, should Arteta have backed him playing, then for me, you have to sign a contract extension to raise the value. And he only did a year. It wasn't like it was giving him, you're my guy. It would have been different. I would have been with you, Waj, if it was a 4-year deal. Factually, it's another year option on his current, which ends next summer. So they've preserved the value, and it definitely wasn't a contract to say, you're my guy. What it did do was extend the value, and I hoped it was going to be paired with another center midfielder addition so that I could understand the extension. But unfortunately, we're left in a situation where we just have that extension. We haven't recruited a deep midfielder who, I'm sorry, call me a pace and power merchant. I believe we should have been in recruiting for a Basuma type to pair with Thomas Partey. Yeah. And that, for me, is the managerial decision, which I don't believe is a Mikel Arteta decision, given how strongly he wanted Thomas Partey. It doesn't make logical sense to me that his primary target, when worse came to worse in a summer that was riddled by COVID, he chose the midfielder that represented that philosophy the most. And so for me, I don't accept, because of his buying of Gabriel. Guys, what do all of those have in common? They're dual monsters. I don't accept the logic that Mikel doesn't value this in his midfield and he chose Xhaka. I think it's very disingenuous. I really do. But I accept that some of his decision-making has been really poor this season, where he hasn't set up the team the best to succeed. And
Then why not prioritize the £50 million that was spent on Ben White on a midfielder, which we know was probably our biggest weakness? Why not prioritize that? In that
You know what the
position,
issue
why
is, Z?
you have
The
to
issue
wait
is not
till
extending.
someone has to leave? Because for me,
Okay,
again,
the
I feel like
issue. Yeah, I'll answer it. The issue is not extending Luiz. That was the issue for me. And I felt it was poor fund allocation. Because if Luiz had left, make no mistake, a center back was critical. I don't understand the position on Twitter that a center back wasn't critical if Luiz was leaving. My issue was, why was Luiz not extended? Where you could bet in Saliba, I agree. And there could have been better fund allocation. But people on Twitter are being disingenuous because they know it's an off the field issue. This isn't a position of you're not good enough. And I'm really getting tired of people doing that disingenuous thing on Twitter where Arteta thinks that Saliba isn't good enough. That's not the case, guys. We all know there's off the field issues where their agent doesn't want them involved, and that's another situation. But my issue has
George,
been,
can I come in? No, please, bro. Because I just want to reiterate a couple of things that I want to wind me up about this whole situation. Because like if we could, every time we get a defeat, we could put on record right now on a tape what people are going to say. I can record right now.
Agree.
Different statements. I can even go into profile of certain people that I know on Twitter, what they're going to say, and what's the root cause of it. The truth is, very few people actually touch on the real problems. Very few people really touch on the actual problems. Because the truth is, if we sack this guy, do you think our problems will go away overnight? Do you think, honestly, any of you guys, that a new guy comes in, takes these players, and suddenly achieves consistency across the 38-game season in the league? If the answer is no, then you need to start taking a look at yourselves in terms of, if you're like saying, okay, the manager is the primary person to blame. That's what wound me up today. Not because I'm a massive fan of this manager. Let me explain the situation for you. I'm going to stay consistent, as I keep on saying. If the guy isn't doing it by, I think people said it last year. If he wasn't performing by, I don't know, December, he'd have been gone. That can happen earlier now, right? I don't know. I'm not in there making those decisions at board level. The truth is this. I just literally wrote down, not that I have to. We've got, Z said earlier on, and I'm not picking on Z because I've heard this before, Z. I just want to explain something. You said that pre-season was bad, right? Yeah? Am I getting this right? Pre-season was bad. How many players from our squad do we need to get rid of? How many players do we need to get rid of from our squad?
Probably half the squad.
Probably half the squad. Now you tell me, how are you going to have a pre-season where you are full firing with half the squad knowing that they have no future at the club? Can someone explain that to me?
My problem is.
No, let me finish. No, let me finish a bit. Because I want you to get, look, the only thing I can do is to try to get you guys in the mind of the manager, right? Is he in control of getting rid of those players so he can achieve what he wants to do with the players who he wants at the club? The answer to that question is obvious.
No.
Some of you guys said, why did he play Kola today? Why did he play Kolasinac? The pattern is very similar, in my opinion. I don't understand why people don't pick up on it. Last year, when we tried to get rid of Mustafi and some of the other players that we eventually shipped out, apart from possibly Socrates, we had to play those guys. We tried to actively shift out some of those players. Right?
So,
let
me just ask you something quickly, mate. Do you not think that this is Edu's sting? This is on Edu more than it is on.
But we discussed this before,
Arteta.
Karen, haven't we? We said, look, Edu never had. I think any sporting director, even if you put Campos in charge, I'm being serious, guys. You put Campos in charge of the dross that we have in our team, right? Do you think he'll be able to shift that dead wood? Do you think Campos could do it?
Not 10
to?
players, but maybe.
But
Campos
Campos' MO is finding players and bringing them to the club, right?
Campos could definitely do better than Edu, man. I don't have a doubt about that.
But can Campos come and sell 10 of our dross players? Really?
I think he could have done a better job than what Edu's done, to be honest.
But no,
what is a better job, though?
Can he do a better job, bro? Of course he can. He's more experienced. But the question is, can he shift all those players? Because obviously the manager needs all of them shifted if he is to create the squad that he needs. The truth is, if their club at the top have any sense of reality, any business acumen, they will know that with this young manager, they have put him in an impossible situation because he has got players there that don't want to be there, but he has to put them into the team. He has to put them into the squad and hope this closing window, with 3 days to go, whatever it is now, that they can shift up as many of those players because he's still 2 players minimum short where he wants them to be.
Yeah.
Look, even when he took the job, you know, people are saying, yeah, but he kept Granit Xhaka on. You know, he could have gone to Hertha Berlin. Who the hell was he going to buy in the January window to replace a midfielder in the squad? Who? Who, guys? Do you remember back when? Who was it? Who were we linked with? Gerson from Brazil. Gerson is now at Marseille. The only concrete link I think I remember someone linking us with was that Edu had gone off to Brazil and made contact with Gerson. Do you remember Gerson's father went on? I think Renato was mentioning it as well.
I wasn't on Twitter then, so I don't know, mate. But
yeah,
when we linked with Bruno Gomes before he went to Lyon.
Yeah, we went to get Bruno and we came back with Mari.
But we even though we were interested in him, Lyon already had done the deal with them. Is that not right? Juninho had done his link. You know, just as much as we thought, yeah, Ed is Brazilian, he's going to get this guy. Juninho is Brazilian, he's also going to get this guy. Thank you. Right? And the kid isn't stupid. I think the kid decided that he wasn't going to risk his first involvement in Europe in the Prem. He was going to go to somewhere like France.
Yep, makes sense.
Europe, and then he's never even. So for me, look, let me just go through a few facts, because you know what makes me really fed up. We got some really intelligent.
Did Nom disconnect?
Yeah, I think so. I want to get a good man on because he's been waiting for a while.
Some people have selective amnesia.
Oh, go on.
They forget.
I want to get.
Guys, let me just. What I'm trying to say to you is this.
Nom, your mic keeps cutting out.
Yeah, you're disconnecting, Nom.
Sorry, guys.
Get back in here. We want to hear you, mate. Babs, mate. While we sort out, Nom, I'm gonna let you go for a second and join back. But I want to get Babs on because he has been waiting patiently, mate. Babs, thoughts on Mikel? Thoughts on Edu? Just give me your thoughts, mate. I need to hear from you, mate.
Thoughts on Mikel Arteta? Look, it's very easy for me to jump on here and go, right, it's time to go. Get him out, get a new manager in, Conte and co. But he's not going to go. So regardless of what I do say now, he isn't going to leave Arsenal today or tomorrow. I still think he'll stay past international break because the board have made it clear they won't sack him until he gets more of his key players back to full fitness. I understand every team has injuries and COVID and all that stuff, but we've already got a bad team as it is. So when those players that are the key players in the first place, the only very few good players we have, aren't fit, you're only going to get left with more disarray. So losing to City and Chelsea isn't a surprise. And even Brentford to an extent, because I thought we'd lose that game in the first place. Not just the injuries and the COVID stuff that struck, but also going to Brentford away, the first ever game for them in the Premier League. Their fans are back in the ground, the new stadium as well. Like, it was always going to be hard for Arsenal to just go there and get a win, especially without key players as well. So, is it time to go? It could be. But at the same time, we'll just see how he does after the players come back. And I'm hoping Arsenal win games of football. Seriously, that's all I can do as a fan. I'm not really going to come here and shout and rant and act like I know it all, because I don't know it all, and I'm a fan for a reason. So, hopefully players do come back after the international break and we win against Norwich and we go on a run. But again, it's looking unlikely, and we'll see how it goes. But am I really surprised if we lost to City and Chelsea, European champions, Premier League champions, without 5 key first-team players? No, I'm just not.
No. I mean, look, mate, the thing, what I've been saying, before I do throw it to Nickel, because I've seen Nickel been in the comments for a while, and he's here now, but before I do throw it to him, I just want to reiterate one thing, that we aren't looking at this. If we tell me right now, so if we'd started off with, say, Norwich, Burnley, and I don't know, Crystal Palace at home and got 9 points, right? And everything was good, and then we went to City. We had this run. Say we switched the months, right? And let's just say we switch them up. So we switch September with August. So we start with Norwich, Burnley, Spurs, and we win 9 points. And then we go winless in September. You have and you went Brentford, Spurs, and Brentford, Chelsea, and City. Is the narrative still the same? What do you guys think?
No, I agree on that to an extent, but it doesn't change
I
it.
think
It's
it
happened.
would be, man.
So
Mm.
it's happened. I know, but it's
Yeah.
happened. We've lost the 2 games. It is what it is. You accept it. But it is just 3 games into a season.
This
It
is what I'm
just 3
saying.
games into a season. I've seen Arsenal start not as bad as this, obviously, but 8-2s. I see last year Man United do 6-1 to Tottenham, and Ollie's gonna get sacked, and then he just turns it around out of nowhere after the international break. Things
Look,
can
for
happen.
me,
That's how football
yeah.
works, you know.
I agree with
For
you, to be
me,
honest, Bob.
for me, what it is, it's very clear, is that people are looking at 0 points and 0 goals and creating a narrative of that. That's the whole thing. And the fact of the matter is, we've gone up against 2 European Championship finalists and a team. Obviously, we should have beaten, but we went with a COVID outbreak literally 2 hours before. None of those performances were acceptable by the standards of Arsenal. None of them. But what I'm trying to say is there are extenuating circumstances that you have to look from both sides. You can't just look at it and be like, okay, calm. It's been a normal season. We've all gone in, and he's just messed it up. He's had 2. His main. If you have 1 centre back out, you can cover for it. You have 2 centre backs out, your main 2 centre backs, as well as your main centre mid. You lose transitional control. You lose the ability to. You lose the pace in your centre backs, and you lose.
Karan.
Yeah.
Let me ask you
Yep.
something. What do you take out from these 3 losses, man? What do you take out from these three losses?
I can't hear you, Nico. Say that again, mate.
What do you take from these 3 losses?
What do I take from these 3 losses?
Yes.
I can't take a lot. I mean, there's no positives to take away from it. I take away a lot of issues with. I take away that it loses. What I'll say to you is that it's made me lose some of my faith in this idea that we were bringing up our squad. We were raising the floor of our squad. Which is the point of this window. That's what I take away from this.
Okay.
And the reason
for me,
yeah.
When I streamline things, the most unacceptable was and will be like moving players, man. It'll be the most unacceptable thing. Like
Not
we are
moving
having a
players.
transfer window. Yes, man. This has to be done this window, or it can be done never.
Why would it be done never?
Because Arteta got like 2 years already in his bag. It has to be done now, or like it cannot be another 6 months having these players and not being able to play at the highest level. You cannot say again.
Do you think that it's Arteta's fault that we didn't get these players out?
No, not entirely on his fault, but it's like it should be on the recruitment team. It should be on the technical director. Obviously, it comes down to that, right?
Yes.
It comes down to it has to come down to somewhere between Arteta and Edu.
Mm-hmm. So
Chelsea are moving players.
what would you say we need to do now? Is it everyone go, Arteta go, Edu go? What's the next move?
No, not everyone goes, man. Some players are like
No. What I mean by everyone goes, is Edu and Arteta goes, or just Arteta goes, or just Edu goes.
I'm not totally on letting Arteta go, man. It's like 3 games now. I'm not sticking on anything now. But incompetence of Edu, like it cannot happen now.
Agreed.
This has to be a window where he shows some intent to move players on.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. 100%.
I
think
Chelsea
Nico
moving
and
players.
me are on the right sort of. I think Nico and me aren't far off. I think what Nico you're saying is that if these players don't get moved, you feel like in the next 6 months that's the end of the manager because he's lumbered with these players. Is that what you're saying, Nico?
No, see, the main thing is Arteta is trying to do a system. He knows he cannot do with his players. So ultimately, he has to find a way where he can move on with his players, and these players has to go. That has to be a major part of our window.
Look, for me, I feel like at this point in time, nothing's been proved by Edu. I think the manager sort of said it in his press conference. He said that, do you remember when they asked him about transfers? He said that what they could do, they've done. Now he can't do any more without moving more players, right? And before that, we'd only got rid of 3 players? Let's say Guendouzi, Mavropanos and Willock. I know those earlier 2 are on loans, but with obligations. And Torreira, we think that's an option with whatever. But the truth is, we're now stuck because if this squad isn't complete, because we don't get enough players out, we're stuck in that same situation that we were stuck last year. He's left with, I don't know, 6, 7 players that don't want to be here and that we can't actually really use.
But that's on who? Right? We have.
But this is what I'm trying to say. That's definitely on the sporting director, without a doubt.
No, let me ask you something. Can I ask you something? It's probably a key question at this stage of his managerial career. Has he lost the dressing room already? And I'm talking to even the guys.
No, I don't think so. I don't
think so. I think look.
Okay, there are people. There are people renewing contracts.
One at a time, guys. Come on.
Go on, Nico. No, you go, Nico. You go.
There are people running. There are youngsters running contracts, and there are senior players coming out and telling, we are together as a team. So nobody that has an intent will not come together, or who has lost the dressing room will not come out and say at an interview that we are together, we are doing something, and yes, we should have some pride. This was what happened today.
Listen, I sort of agree with. Look, Z, you said that you think he's lost the dressing room. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like since the Brentford game, the word was it's for them. It feels like it's when and not if. And now I'm trying to put 2 and 2 together, looking at what Arteta said to what Aubameyang said in the press conference. It just seems like there is some sort of divide between the manager and the players. Whether it might be some of the senior players or all of the players, there is something there that I can't get hold of, and I think more comes out in the coming weeks, really.
For me, it's very simple. I think Waj, you asked the question. Waj, you asked the question earlier on, right? If you got 10 players leaving your club, roughly, or we need to get a shift, let's say, realistically, 8, 9 players. How are you going to have a harmonious sort of changing room still? If those players have got to that stage now where they realise there is no future for them at the club, right? And the manager is intrinsically linked with their future. There's no dashing around that, right? And the problem with our players is this. If any of our players had any backbone, right, and they really did think that they were top quality players, they would have moved on a long time ago when we didn't qualify for the Champions League. Am I not right? But they know who they are. Bro, I've been there in my own profession. When you go in and you're surrounded by full of horse shit, they delude themselves into thinking they're better than what they really are, right? And then to top it all, when you try to give them the push to go to the next job because they think they're better than what they are currently, you realize none of them want to leave because you know what? The truth, deep down, they know they're not good enough for any other club. How do I know this? Yeah. How do I know this? People will ask me the question, how do you know that, Nom? Well, look, I'll give you the proof. Mustafi might have won a World Cup. He might have been a German international. But after he left us, is he still signed onto a club yet? No. Is anyone fighting to get him on a contract? If Kolasinac left or was going to leave, is there people breaking our door down saying, all right, he's on the last year of his contract?
They chased him out of the city he was in. They literally chased him out.
So what I'm trying to say, Granit Xhaka, when he got put up for sale, who came in for him? Roma.
Mourinho.
And then they took the piss. Yeah. Listen, and they took the piss. They were never serious. The other issue, then let's keep on going, because people who stand Guendouzi, I want to just put it out there. They tell me he's the best thing since sliced bread. Marseille didn't even want to that was that was, I think, an option that turns into an obligation. They didn't want to even 100% risk their neck on that player, literally. So these people who think we've got this amazing squad for this young manager to work with. What do you think the outside world think? Like even Joe Willock, and I like Joe, right? But when we sold him, there was nobody else going for Joe Willock apart from Newcastle. So the truth is this. We don't have as good a squad or good a players as people think we have. In fact, we've got so many bad players. And Wave said earlier on, right, why don't we just do what we did last year and just terminate the contracts? Well, look, believe it or not, terminating the contracts of those players last year has led to us now being held ransom by Willian, Kolasinac. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So when does the cycle ever end? Can we end it this year? Do we think
we're still doing player terminations, by the way? We're terminating thingy. We're terminating.
How many
Willian.
players do we terminate, though? Do you know what I'm saying to you?
We're terminating Willian now. So
look, I know, but what I'm trying to say to you, Karen, is look, when we sacked a whole scouting team, and it wasn't just on the scouting team. I get that there was other people above them who gave the green light for these players coming in. I didn't lose one. I didn't have one teardrop of sympathy.
I'm sorry, but these guys. No, let me just back you up here. These guys, right? These guys, the scouting team that people go on so much about, that is the most hailed thing in the world, brought in Marouane Chamakh, brought in Nicholas Bentner, brought in Sebastian Squillaci, brought in brought in, let's have a think, Mustafi, Kolasinac, and I can go
Perez,
on and on.
Perez, we could go on, right?
Miyachi, the rest, you know what I mean? All these dead signings. So, it's a no-go. Thank you, Pedro Ackerman. It's just the thing that what annoys me is this thing where you have to be on one side of things. And I'm going to stop saying Arteta in or Arteta out. I'm going to say other Arsenal fans and fellow Arsenal fans. Just let's stop with this narrative that everything has to be a hyperbole. Everything has to be Arteta in, Arteta out.
Look, can I just say...
It's not even about the manager.
Yeah, let me say it. Look, you're on the right track. Let me tell you something. What I'm pissed off with is people reducing things down to simple things like, well, if we get rid of the manager, that's it, all our problems are solved. If we get rid of the owners, all our problems... The truth is, it's much more complicated than that. We don't, as fans, really know what we want and how we should get there. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Right? Some people say we should follow the Liverpool model. But at the same time, the minute we have a setback, well, we're following this model. Let's say with these young players, we're following that model. Right? It wasn't exactly the model that they followed, but let's say we're going for a long rebuild. The minute we have a setback, or Chelsea win a Champions League, or Chelsea go and spend £100 million on a striker, you have a whole of our fan base crying. Right? Begging some random Arab guy to buy our club, who's not even a sheikh. Who hasn't even got £10 to his name. It's embarrassing, man. We don't need other fans laughing at us when we actually end up being comical characters ourselves. Because we have no pride in how we represent our club.
Nope, none.
What we think
Absolutely
our club
none. Literally none. I'm so annoyed at this narrative that everything has to be a massive deal. Everything has to be a massive deal. Like it doesn't matter what happens every day. There's got to be another massive deal to deal with. Every day there's either there's fans fighting between themselves. I mean, other fan bases don't do this.
No, they do.
But not to the same degree. I mean, obviously.
Chelsea went and won a Champions League, and I was seeing spaces of Jorginho, like Lampard versus Sarri, who had the better era, and they were properly going toxic on it. So to say other fans don't have it,
no,
I'm not saying. Karen, can I just explain the sentiment? Let me explain the difference between what you're saying, Willow, and what happens to our fan base. Our fan base, look, I've been on so many spaces now over the last few months. I'm fed up of saying it. If you guys want to come out with a clear plan, there's people who want the manager out, they want the board out, they want Edu out, they want anything to do with Arsenal out. But then you've got to have a clear idea and vision what you want in place. We can't, if it is to be a self-sustaining model, then you need to find somebody who can make that successful, a group of people. If you want it to be oil money, then you've got to find yourself a sheikh who's actually willing to come in and buy these guys out, which I don't think.
No. We are no longer self-sustaining. We are no longer following some self-sustaining model, man.
Yes, we are. Actually, we are following the self-sustaining model. That's why we're investing in all these young players that have big resale values. And even Kroenke said it in the last AGM thing. He was like, we can't go big every summer, but there will be the odd summer where we do go big. And I'm guessing this is one of those summers, because what they're doing is they're investing in these young players that if you lose one or two of them for big money, you can then reinvest that money. But the problem that I have, Nom, and this is my view on it, you're asking about we don't know the way forward. I think that the way forward was the correct way when Arteta first came in. When Arteta first came in and he was head coach and he had people surrounding him, I'm not saying the people that were surrounding him were the correct people, because I didn't want Senedi at the club and I didn't want Edu at the club.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
The functions, what they were doing, and you get the best of those in and around Arteta. I think Arteta can succeed, because I think if you tell Arteta just focus on the coaching aspect, I think he can do a very good job. But he's having to do so many things, and I personally don't think one of his strong points is man management. So he's having to do so many things that I don't think he's ready for it at this stage of his career. And like you said at the beginning of it, they've literally just thrown him to the wolves. They haven't given him the right squad. They haven't given him the right senior people around him. They've given him toxic players, and they have literally set him up to fail.
For me, when he pushed, when those players left last year, the ones that we terminated the contracts. Yeah. Who do you think was pushing? Do you think it was a sporting director pushing, or do you think it was Arteta who was pushing to get rid of those players? A guess from everyone.
Yeah, it would have been Arteta. Who do you think it was?
I don't guess, man. I don't know. I'm not going
to... Sorry, an educated guess, bro. Do an educated guess based on the information that was available to the fans.
I mean, I don't like it because, again, I didn't have much information. I wasn't on Twitter at the time, but like, from what I could, it's hard. I mean, I think maybe it would probably be Arteta, but I don't know for sure. I don't know.
Well, okay, that's cool, bro. It's hard because, as I said, you were saying you weren't on Twitter. Willow, what do you think? Who do you think was pushing then?
Yeah, it would have been Arteta, but it obviously would have been sanctioned off by Josh, and they would have also been doing it. But yeah,
and Ed would have to stamp. Yeah. Watch. What do you think? Who do you think was pushing terminate contracts and to get rid of these players?
Yeah, I agree with Willow.
So for me, it's obvious, right? If you were following what was going on that part of the year, he was pushing to get these players out because he felt like he couldn't create dynamic within that squad without those players leaving. Right?
Nom, let me just answer this. Did Mustafi stay? Did he stay? No, he didn't stay. So let's stop with this thing. Mustafi, I offered Mustafi a new contract because he didn't stay. It doesn't matter if he offered it or not. He didn't stay. It's done. Stop going on about things in the past to try and point score. It's stupid and silly and childish.
I don't know.
I'll bring up the comment again. Yeah.
Comment in the thing. Yeah. Carry on, Nom. What were you saying?
Yeah. Okay. So look, what I'm trying to say is this. I don't know. Wave's not here, is he? Or he's gone now. But Wave's right to an extent. No, we put in a guy. Listen. There are times when the manager needs to be publicly backed, right? And some truths need to be told. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. There has to be someone else doing the PR. I know I'm going to use those words because it's out there on Twitter sphere now. So if there are players that are causing toxicity within the squad, it shouldn't be the manager saying that because he's going to compromise himself. Look, when you're managing people, you can either be the good cop or you can be the bad cop. You can't be both all the time effectively when you're managing big change.
Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So how can he be the bad? If he's the bad cop, as the inside sources try to put it out because of his poor management, who's the good cop? It's definitely not any of his assistants.
No way.
Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Right? So what is Edu doing then?
But that's the thing.
His two strengths are, Willow, from what I could tell, and this is from look, I'm not making this up because I've watched how he's got a close relationship with Tite. That's what got him from Corinthians to the Brazilian national team. The two things that I saw from the documentary that he was good at was that he did look like he had contacts with clubs and that he had a close day-to-day working relationship. He used to be always there in the canteen amongst the players, etc., etc. So what is Eddie doing? How is he managing those relationships? Right?
He's obviously not at the moment, but that's where I've got to come in and be like, from an outsider's perspective, I said, I'll wait till the end of the window, I'll see what things are like. And, I'm not hounding out a manager at the moment. I'm really not. I'm not doing it with the things that have gone on at the moment. I'm not going into the context because, to be honest, boys, you've mostly covered it. But where I go on the Edu example is it just gives me another thing where you go, the Cronkies have got it wrong again. Of another man they've put in charge and they've got it wrong. And none of us can deny that because it's true. And you've got to take that now. How many regimes have we had?
4 in the past 5 years.
How many have worked?
None.
So that's where, like, I am in the middle of you boys because, like, a lot of the context needs to be put in, and that's what fans don't do. They don't put the context in. So a lot of the things are right. But the thing you do have to look at as well is we've got to trust the Cronkies to then carry this on. And now it's sounding like everyone doesn't want Edu here. No one seems to want Edu here. Everyone either wants Edu gone or wants someone to come in and basically hold Edu's dick while they actually do everything.
But Willow, you know what it is? That would make it too simplistic because the truth is, I made a point in his defense, right? I made a point in his defense, not because I'm his biggest fan as sporting director. I was a huge fan as a player when he was a player, but that's a different issue altogether.
Let me just do this. We're approaching 2.5 hours. Nickel, thank you for your contribution, but we're gonna have a bit of a chat here, and we're gonna go. We've got the last probably 25 to 30 minutes, guys. But thank you for coming, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers, bro. It was a good point you made. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Right. So look, going back to this, I said, look, one of the things he's got an issue with is shifting these 10 players. These 10 players, I think any sporting director would find it difficult to shift, really and truly. Right? It's not. Listen, from what we hear, Lacazette was given to an agency and he was literally flouted around the whole of Europe. We still haven't found anyone to buy him. Bellerin's agent literally has been doing a tour of Spain, Italy, France, anywhere you name it, to try to find someone. Where's the offers? Do you know what I'm saying to you? We were told by the Athletic, allegedly, I take everything with a pinch of salt, by the way, that there will be offers coming through and Arsenal are assessing them. What offers?
But
right?
Again,
I mean, there wasn't an offer from Inter. I think Villarreal had an offer for him out. There were offers for Bellerin.
What did Villarreal offer? Villarreal didn't put anything on the table. Inter Milan did. Inter Milan did the same thing they did with Cedric Suarez. They offered Southampton a 1-year loan with an option, and you know what? They hardly played the poor guy. He came back. He had to run. His contract was about to run, and we were stupid enough to come and then give him a 3. Look, there is context to why we gave him that contract, because at the time we shouldn't have given him the length of the contract. That's our stupidity again. But I think that was
Raul at his peak.
Yeah, that was Raul. But what it was at the time, the context of that situation was this: Bellerin was coming back from a ACL, and Chambers had just suffered an ACL. Do you remember? And Maitland-Niles had decided that he was going to become a midfielder again, right? You know, like that flip-flopping that he does between, I'm going to be a midfielder today and as fullback the next day. Do you know what I'm saying to you? So we needed to get a right back in.
It was still Raul at the time,
he was the only one available in January. He was the only one available in January. Whether or not, I think the only reason we sort of managed to get him was because we said that we were going to give him a contract at the end of the loan.
Yeah.
Right? Or else he was going to sit and just go on a free transfer to wherever. Right? Now, the length of the contract is sheer stupidity. I 100% agree. Because he's another guy that we now need to get rid of.
Yeah,
we're signing more Deadwood on top of Deadwood.
I want to try and. I mean, we're approaching 2.5 hours. I want to go in about 15 minutes, but I want to have a bit of a Q&A session here. Let's not do long narratives. I want to do a bit of a Q&A session. So let me just ask you this. So I asked earlier, is it Edu? Is it more on Edu now, or is it more we need to think about both of them going, or is it one? Is it one or the other? Which one? How are we thinking about what's the next move? Z, Rajday, anyone, bro?
For me, like, we talk about Edu, we talk about Arteta. For me, it's always been the owners. That's always been, like, go through, you look, it has always been the owners. It's obviously hard to do with the owners, but it's just
obviously the owners. But I'm talking about, because the thing is, it's not, we have to think about what's viable right now.
Yeah,
I want the owners out as well, mate. But the question is we have personnel at the moment that you can have an opinion on and actually see results from that. Do you get what I'm saying?
To be honest, let's be honest, yeah. The way that Arteta is acting in his press conferences, for me, coming into a brand new season, The fans are coming back, etc., etc. You should be excited. For me, when I look at Arteta's press conferences, he looks drained, and the reason that he looks drained is because he knows what's coming. He hasn't been given what he wants in the transfer window, and that all comes down to Edu. I'm sorry, I know.
I agree.
I don't want to sound like toxic and all of this kind of thing, but
man.
He has now had how many windows? About 4 or 5 windows. And you know what really pisses me off about three windows? You know what really pisses me off about Edu? You know these holidays that he goes on and stuff like that. I'm not going to say he shouldn't go on holiday. He does his own thing and all of that kind of and that. And people always say, "Oh, but he can do these Zoom meetings and he can do things online." And I agree with that. That's not a problem. But there's optics. There's things that you put out in the media and there's things that you don't put out in the media. After you've just lost your opening game 2-0 against Brentford, you don't go start taking your pictures of yourself in Mallorca. Like, you can do it, go to Mallorca. That's not a problem. That's fine, go to Mallorca. But the optics don't look good. They don't endear you to the fans. Like, you read the room, understand the atmosphere around the club. And that kind of thing really pisses me off about Edu, because it just makes him look very unprofessional, very amateur. He doesn't read the club. And that times by what he's done in the transfer window, it just makes me think, you know what, you're just not ready for this job.
I just want to make a quick point on Edu. I think I'm the same as Waj. I want no Edu. I don't think he's ready. He's ready or competent enough for this job. But I will say is, man, leave his kids alone. Leave his wife alone. Like, why are we?
Definitely.
Like, what are we doing, man? This is like we're meant to be a fan base that respects, and like where the whole ethos of Arsenal is victory through harmony. Like, what are we doing right now? Why are we going after man's families? Now, it's stupid and it's juvenile. Can we just allow the if you don't like Edu, I don't like Edu, but I focus on his family. I don't focus on his family. I mean, I focus on the man himself. Yep. So let's just.
Karen, you know what it is though, bro. That unfortunately, what we're seeing in football Twitter is now seeping into reality, right? And that's the problem. That's the thing I saw. No, up until, I know you said you've recently come on Twitter, but I've been on Twitter for a long time. Until the last few years, or you could say that this toxicity hadn't seeped into real life, but it is now seeping into real life because we have new supporters who come into these spaces, social media, and think this is how they should behave. We're literally, all of us here right now have witnessed this with our own ears and our eyes, right? We've seen behavior transfer from Twitter and Instagram and everything else, and including Spaces, and it's now manifested itself in reality, right? And it's not just those platforms. There's others, and like AFTV, but I've mentioned that before. Now, look, I'm like Waj. I think Waj, you're 100% right. It's not just even about the holidays, Waj. You know what kills me the most? The Tottenham guy at the moment. I know we got a few fans here of the Tottenham. Yeah, Patrici. So now he's given the narrative out there that this guy allegedly never sleeps. He's 24/7 on his phone. He's a bit of a scruff bag. He literally stays in his office, and that's all he does. The truth is, he probably doesn't do that all the time. He probably does it at this time of the year.
Yeah.
Now, do you understand what I'm saying to you? Especially now at this time of the year because of this job. But the truth is, Edu looks way too relaxed. That might not be the reality, but that's the optics that he's put out there. Okay. The optics that he's put out there creates the impression that this guy isn't professional, even if he is. Now, look, the other issue we have, and I have a massive issue with this, is I've mentioned this before. How many times has Edu communicated with the fans on behalf of the club or the manager?
He doesn't do that, bro.
No, really.
Why not? Because his English is above Unai Emery's. He can speak. He's been in this country before. If it wasn't as good as he feels confident with, he should have been learning this language first of all, straight away. Right? And making sure he was competent. Yeah. And he should have been the one in the firing line, because the only way you can keep a low-key scene at the back, like Campos does, is if you are a genius and you keep on pulling out rabbits out of your hat.
Okay.
But do you know what with Edu, though?
I mean,
wait, I just
yeah,
want to
go
go
on.
in just quickly before, like, another reason why I'm actually not going to hound Edu, like, as much as I don't like him, and I was a bit iffy when he came in and all that, but I was like, let's give him a chance. Is again, he's an inexperienced man. You put in someone who hasn't really done this before in
Yeah.
this job, and we're hounding him, and we're going, oh, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing that. Well, like, to be honest, I'm not like fully going for it because it's just like I
No,
don't blame you, mate.
it's not even doing this, doing that. It's the fact of the matter is we're at the end of the window and he's not done a good enough job. He's
No.
not doing this, doing that. That's the point. And I'm trying. I want to get Z in on this because I haven't heard from him in a while. But like,
No, I think
is it Edu? Is it Edu? Is it Arteta? Or is it
no, I
both?
think look, I need to be fair on this again, and I keep on bringing this up. But look, when it comes to recruitment, we have to look at the manager and Edu. Yes, Edu has been tasked to complete the deals, and I think he hasn't done that. But it's also on Arteta to identify the players he wants in and identify the players he wants out. And based on that, he hasn't really done the most. For example, he hasn't been proactive in keeping Bellerin. In fact, he's tried to offer him a contract. He's kept someone like Xhaka in when we know we need a profile of we need a profile where that's more of an athletic kind of profile, but he hasn't gone and done that. So we can't just give Edu the entire blame. Some of the
It's
blame
not the
has.
entire blame.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We have to give some of the blame to artists. I think
Yes.
both of them working together, I think it's a recipe for disaster. I wish we had someone that has, years and years worth of experience and was working in unison with Arteta because I at least then we could say, you know what, at least we have someone that knows what he's doing. Right now, it feels like no one knows what they're doing, and this is where it's kind of like it's getting a bit scary for me.
For me, it's very simple. I look at both of them and I don't think they've done well this summer. I think this summer has been it's like P1 just said. It's they're rookie mistakes. And the question is whose incompetence has risen to the point where they lose their job. And I think both have done bad, but I think the fact that Edu has not got out players on a consistent basis now. If you look at that back three, they all should have been, at least two of them should have been gone. And I also want to say this: even small changes in that team improves the team exponentially. And if Arteta is brave enough to make those decisions, drop Leno, drop him, and never to get him back. Just start Ramsdale. Look at how much the build-up changed when he came in. Stop playing. Learn that Chambers is not at that level right now and his confidence is shot. You need to stop playing him. I love Callum Chambers, but this is 3 games in a row now where he's not been at the level that we need him to be at. There is other issues in the squad. How are you going to accommodate Odegaard into this squad? Are you making him a central 10? Are you doing a dual 10 system with him and Emil? Are you trying to work him as inside forwards? Are you trying to make him a right wing? These are questions that need to be asked. Where are you going to play Odegaard tactically? You need to work out where your creativity is coming from. You need to work on positional passing, build-up play. You need to make sure your transitional play is better. These are all issues that need to be addressed. But the question of the matter is Edu's job is coming to an end with the summer window ending. And I really do think that if you look at that and you see that it's Edu's job is coming to a close this summer, as he hasn't done the job to a competent enough level where I'm confident with him succeeding. And that's why I think Edu should go. I can see the argument for Mikel to go, but the question right now is there is too many issues in the air. There are too many issues that he's been presented with to say that he is going to be 100% he needs to go. And I think on that note, because we've had both sides on this and we've been here for 2.5 hours, I think when it ended there, I want to thank everyone on the panel. Thank you, Wajde. Waj, make sure you shout out your YouTube because I've watched a couple of vids and they've been great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so the Arsenal remontada, It's not the greatest name for after today's game, but
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
you're gonna get labeled as an optimist, bro, with that kind of name.
Yeah.
Gee.
And then everyone's Twitter will be in the description. Please follow the channel, subscribe, comment, leave a like if you can, and follow everyone there. Everyone's Twitter will be in the description. Mine is currently offline because I'm trying to look at other things in my real life, but I'm going to be back for deadline day. I will see everyone in a bit, and thank you all for tuning in. It's been a great discussion, and I look forward to do it again soon. So thank you very much. Yeah, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in a bit, guys.
Thanks.